Live from the Terror Dome, I'm Jerry Terrifying, and you're listening to the Mondo Coolcast. This week I got in a petty argument in the comments section of Kotaku, and I'm going to scream up a storm about GameStop. I've also been playing a couple of Sega games this week, and I'll probably talk about that a bit. I also have an interview that I'm going to be playing this week. It's classic Mondo Cool style interview, so it's going to be huge and long and forever. Alright, Mondo Coolcast, all that greatness. What's up, guys? Hopefully everything's working this week. It should be. For the people that made it out to the show live last week, wow, what a train wreck. I'm exasperated. Don't know what to say. That was a mess. The best I can figure is I installed Camtasia, and that's something that involves my sound card and software and things. So I'm thinking that is what caused the cock-up in the show. So, luckily, I was recording the Skype call that I was in, and I managed to Frankenstein something together that ultimately sounded better. Now, when I do the live part of the show with the guest host, when I do the news section, that is coming off of a secondary PC through an analog 3.5 millimeter mixing cable. So there's line noise because it's analog, and analog in most cases sucks. And yeah, so that's, oh no, shit got screwed up. With me editing it together, though, I was using something that was captured directly off my main PC sound card, and it ultimately, the download version did sound better. I could do that from now on if enough people harassed me about it, but I really don't want to, because I love that Sam Broadcaster, this DJ software, automatically records it for me, so I don't have to do any manual mixing. And yeah, so whatever. That's that. Earlier today, I was browsing Kotaku, and they had an article, and the article was, we sent an intern to GameStop to sell some crap. They didn't buy this shitty Wii game, LOL, and that was the entire point of the article. And in the comments, there was, you know, the usual GameStop hate, which is to be expected. And I left a comment in response to someone saying something, I'm not sure what, but ultimately it boiled down to anyone that deals with GameStop is a moron. If you're buying or selling used video games from them, you're doing it wrong. Now, you may be misguided, you may be scared of internet sales and shit, but that is a completely unfounded thing. I've been buying and selling online since 1999, and knock on wood, I've had one incident, and that one incident was a cheap used paperback book that once I contacted the seller, she's like, oh, I'm really sorry, that email got caught up in my spam filter. And yeah, so once I contacted her, I got my shit, and that's the worst experience I've had buying and selling online. Actually, the worst I've had selling online was I had a Sega Genesis, sold it for $20, video cable only, threw in a copy of Sonic 2 and a controller, and I made very clear in the description that no AC adapter is included. You're going to have to get your AC adapter. So the buyer contacts me like, where's the AC adapter? I'm like, well, it was listed in the description that it didn't come with one. And they left, I think it was neutral feedback. It wasn't like real nasty or anything. Or it may have been negative, I'm not sure. But they expected me to send them an AC adapter because they asked nicely, which it's up to the buyer to read the description. Now, something I've noticed a lot with Amazon is if you've ever bought used games from Amazon, a lot of them copy and paste their generic description, like, Asshole Games has sold over 2 million DVDs and we're the best. And, you know, online promotional codes may have already been used. I never buy that shit because it doesn't specifically state that it comes with the original case in the manual. I will only buy if you have 95% or better feedback, depending on the amount of sales. If it's like 5,000 sales and your shit's 95% and up, then okay, you're a good seller. You know, if you've got 2 or 3 sales, I'm not saying I won't do business with you, but you're going to have like 100% fucking positive feedback, right? But I always make sure to read the description, read the condition of the game, and that it has a manual and a case. That's my responsibility. What I sold that person was as described. They have no means for bitching about their being incompetent. So that's the worst experience I've had selling. Someone didn't take the time to read my 2 or 3 sentence description. Shame on them. You know, I think I was selling responsibly. I don't know. So anyway, this Kotaku comment, I said some mean shit. Well, not really. I said, you know, if you're dealing with them, you're an idiot because their trade-in prices are considerably lower than what you would get if you sold the game at market value. And if you're buying from them, the shit's marked up way more than it needs to be. So some guy writes in saying they're a GameStop employee. As a 6-year GameStop employee, I can certainly refute that claim. Anecdotal evidence is anecdotal. You also have to go through a lot more time and hassle. The difference in value is the price you pay for convenience. Personally, I'd rather have that choice. Now, keep in mind, this guy's an employee of a fucking national corporation worth millions of dollars. So his opinion may be a little bit biased towards his employer. Just saying. My bias is towards me and how much fucking money I have in my bank account. I don't care how much money's in GameStop's bank account, 'cause that doesn't do shit for me. The money in my bank account pays my bills. So me holding on to as much of it for as long as I can is of the highest priority. So I wrote a rebuttal. Listing and selling on Amazon takes about 1 minute. Writing an address on an envelope takes about 30 seconds. You can buy postage online, print it, and have your mail carrier pick up your outgoing mail from your house. The money, the actual goddamn U.S. currency, will be transferred directly into my bank account, none of which I have to leave my house for. Now, the nearest GameStop is 2 miles away, and depending on traffic is a 5 to 10 minute drive, which costs me money in terms of gas and wear and tear on my vehicle. So just getting there, I've already spent more time and money in just getting there. Then I have to go to the store where more than likely I won't be the only customer, so I have to stand around waiting for my turn to get ripped off. When it is finally my turn, they'll try to give me in-store credit. Or if I really push it and try to get my cash, they'll knock off 20% of their already pathetic trade-in values. See, GameStop is a business, so they have to try to buy the game as cheap as possible and mark it up to make a profit. Me, not being a dumbass, will sell it online for the current market value for actual US currency that I can use for whatever the hell I want. Again, selling online is significantly faster, requires less effort, and gets me more money in the end. You, sir, are full of shit. So, I think I make a pretty good case. I've sold a lot of shit on Amazon, and if you're selling a game that's in a jewel case or a DVD case, you put it in a manila envelope, and you clip it on your mailbox, and your letter carrier will take that shit. Now, I have a postage scale, so I can weigh that shit. I can go to USPS.com, purchase the exact postage, print it out, slap it on that envelope, and away it goes. Total time investment, about 5 minutes. That includes typing Amazon.com, name of the game, creating the listing, going to USPS.com once it's been sold, and printing out a shipping label. And, about the 5 to 10 seconds to use a Sharpie to write my return address on there. If I really wanted to expedite that, I could invest $10 in getting one of those rubber stamps with your address on it. But, I'll stick with good old-fashioned Sharpie because, I have a shitload of Sharpies that I stole from my last job. I've got fucking crates of Sharpies. And, ultimately, like I said, being cheap is of my highest priority, so spending $10 on that minor convenience of a stamp is out of the question. So I've got Sharpies out the ass. So he writes a brilliant reply. Let's see. Also, I get that it's a better deal for you to sell your games via another path. When he says you, he may as well be saying for consumers. Doesn't mean that that's the same for me, who lives around the corner from a GameStop and doesn't want to deal with the bullshit involved in eBay and Amazon, which I just went over is demonstrably easier. Typing in the name of a game, clicking sell yours here, typing in the condition, and post listing. That's how fucking hard it is, guys. It's really easy to sell on Amazon. eBay's a little more cumbersome. That's why I don't sell on eBay. Anyway, for me, getting $5 to $10 more for my games really isn't worth the hassle of the process you described, no matter how simple you may make it out to be. If you think that makes me a moron and full of shit, that's fine. I think you're an asshole for the way you talk to people online. I'm sure you care about my opinion as much as I care about yours. $5 to $10? Maybe in some cases. Let's take a current game that is blazing up the charts. Duke Nukem just came out. Or Duke Nukem Forever. I should have kept the link open because I'm a bit of a dipshit. But if you try to sell that to GameStop right now, you can sell it to GameStop for $15. Now, if you go to Amazon, you can sell that shit for about $35. That's a considerable amount of money. Now, that $15 you're trading it in for GameStop is in GameStop store credit. And you can't spend that on food. You can't spend that on bills. You can't spend that on dick other than shitty used games that more than likely are scuffed to hell and come in a generic case. What the hell is this guy's reasoning? $5 to $10 per transaction? It's a lot of fucking money. $5 to $10, I can go out on Amazon and buy plenty of great games. But getting back to Duke Nukem Forever as an example, because that's, the first new game that came to mind, I'm going to try to grab the link so I can throw it in the chat for you guys. But I went there and I wanted to see what the current used prices are on GameStop's website. Actually, I was trying to find the trade-in value, but someone told me that they sold it to them for $15. Anyway, I went to GameStop's online store, and you can get Duke Nukem Forever for $40 brand new. Or you can buy it used for the low, low price of $54.99. Huh? What? Why do I want to pay $15 more for a used product? That's absolutely baffling. This guy, his entire agenda is apparently just making sure GameStop has more money, which, all praise the GameStop overlords. I guess. I don't know. It makes absolutely no fucking sense, and I don't get it. $5 to $10 per game is a lot of fucking money. That shit adds up. You could be buying plenty of more games. Now, if you're one of the people that doesn't like to hold on to games, that just, rotates through them as fast as possible, look into GameFly. You get a low subscription fee, and you just have those games rotate through your queue instead of buying a game for $60, selling it for $15, and having them turn around and sell it for $55. Why wouldn't you want to sell it for the full fucking price you can get for actual U.S. currency? There's absolutely no argument against that. Unless herp de derp on Matardo. That's the best argument. Now, I have done business with GameStop, but never buying or selling used games. Never. The only time I've dealt with GameStop is when they've had pre-order bonus exclusives. Shit that you cannot get anywhere else. That is the only justification for stepping foot in a GameStop. And even then, you can still order from them online, where they're not going to try to push a magazine subscription or pre-orders on you. I'm immune to salespeople's bullshit. I have absolutely no qualms coming off as a dick. Are you interested? No, I'm not. I have no problem shutting down the bullshit. So anyway, enough about that. Selling online's fucking easy. The only excuse you can have for not selling online is you don't have a checking account, and in that case, you're probably younger than 16 years old. So then it becomes a case of GameStop is justified in ripping off children, which, brilliant argument there, I suppose. Moving on. I've started playing Yakuza 2. I've had this game sitting on my shelves for years now. Probably since early 2009. Played the first one, absolutely loved it. I'm about 4 chapters into Yakuza 2. Absolutely loving the shit out of it. Goddamn, what a great game. Now, the original reason I didn't jump straight into it off of Yakuza 1 is I was used to the dub voices. So now that it's been long enough to where, shit, I wouldn't recognize any of those voices. I jumped in with absolutely no problem, and it's been a fucking blast. I had to ask someone what the gameplay improvements were, because I wasn't noticing it, and I wasn't playing it back-to-back. And they pointed out a few things, like if you're whooping up on someone's ass and someone comes up behind you, you can sort of turn around and kick them. And, yeah, now that he said that, it's very noticeable. And the person I was talking to with that was Shintai. He'll be on the show in a minute. But, really loving Yakuza 2. And I've been eyeballing Yakuza 3 and 4 online, because I want to pick those up too. But, it doesn't make sense to buy that when I still haven't played 2 that I've been had on my shelf forever. So I'm trying to get through that before I move on to 3. And playing through it, loving it, gonna beat it. I'll probably put up a video review of it. I've been taking notes. My last bunch of reviews, I've kept text files that I add pros and cons to, what I loved and what I hated as I'm playing through the game. And I think that makes for a better reviewing experience. Yeah, let's see, I'm not even going to talk about that. Oh, there's another story on Kotaku that really just irritated the shit out of me, because I've been irritable lately. Someone on YouTube put up a video of him cussing at a kid on Xbox Live, and then the kid gets his mom, and he cusses at the mom. So they put up this news story, and by the time I got to it, the video had been taken down for some bullshit reason off of YouTube. And that also kind of irritated the shit out of me. But they updated the story, and the kid that put up the video said he's going to put up a 12-minute version which gives context, and he apologizes. And Jesus Christ, how slow of a news day are you having if children swearing at other children, then swears at mother, is a fucking news story? Seriously, I shouldn't even have to read that trite garbage. That is beyond fucking pointless. Guess, man, when I first started cussing was in the 3rd grade, and I mean, apparently that was a mistake, because I can't put together a coherent sentence these days without throwing in a shit or a fuck for good effect. And so, I mean, I guess it is bad that kids cuss, and you should probably try to curb that shit. But seriously, children using potty language, that's not a fucking gaming story. I don't care if they did it on Xbox Live or were screaming in an arcade. Fucking exactly. People have been cussing at each other since fucking Pac-Man and Galaga, except for back then you had to eye a motherfucker down when you called him a faggot, you know? So, just, the BS. No tolerance for it. Really, really upsetting, these examples of people just being idiots. And the last thing I have to talk about before I bring Shintai into the call, I was talking to a friend on Skype, and, you know, Morrowind came up, and whenever anyone comes up with the topic of Morrowind, you talk about mods, and he mentioned a Predator mod, so I reinstalled Morrowind tonight, and I was playing that before I fired up my DJ software, and I installed the Predator mod, and wow, that character is so tall, like, all the NPC characters are looking straight down at him. The Predator model looks really cool. I'm about 5 minutes in. I started the first quest. You walk out of town, you see a female Predator standing there, and she's like, go kill some dudes in a cave. And that's how far I've made it. But once you meet up with that female Predator, she gives you a couple of weapons. Your good old Predator wrist blades, and a couple of pieces of armor, and some potions, or whatever. And so far, so good. Gonna hop right back into that after the show. So, I'm going to bring Shintai into the show. Hopefully this shit works. And, oh my god, something horrible is happening.
What happened?
Okay, I think I fixed it. I need longer bumper music so I can transition some shit. But now.
You want me to send you some music?
Yeah, Shintai, Devil Burning put together the bumper music I just used, but god, the insanity madness that was happening in my headphones was fucking insanity. And I think I need to lower some levels on my volume. Jesus. Oh well, I'll hop in the chat and see what's going on. Oh god.
Are you putting up that interview?
Not right now, but I will be in a minute.
And that was just music?
Well, no, we're live on the air now.
Oh.
We have been since I started talking, but the bumper music started just before I could turn the equalizer down. And so I was getting a bunch of nasty-ass feedback in my headphones. Hopefully it wasn't too bad. And, like, my audio volume levels on the live input were, like, off the fucking charts for a second. Okay, so it looks like it's fine. I hope. According to Balzac. Alright. Sweet, let's proceed with the motherfucking show, I suppose.
So unprofessional.
Last week was such a catastrophic failure, dude. Like, on all levels. It was just horrendously ungood.
And we need to make this show more gooder.
Okay, people are telling me it sounds fine.
Yay.
Okay, and they heard the loud screeching too, but now everything's fine. Well, I've got the audio level keeping the sound in the green, but jeez. Anyway, no, I can't. I'll fuck with that music transfer at the end of the show because I don't want to risk any bandwidth. So anyway, news segment.
News segment, yeah.
News segment. How are you doing, Shintai? What's good in the world of Shin?
I'm doing kind of shitty because I took this app quiz yesterday, and when I went to send the quiz and I was done, it says, "You are not authorized to submit this," and I got skimped out on a grade, which pisses me off. Now I've been trying to message my professor and be like, "Hey, bitch, what happened? Why didn't I get a grade?" And I haven't gotten a response yet, and I'm really pissed off because...
Well, hopefully this dude or dudette is reasonable and can, be reasoned with.
Because I was on time. It's the site's fault, not me.
It's always the site's fault. You're always on time. Everybody knows that.
Other than that, though, I'm doing pretty good. I've been playing Star Ocean again, trying to up my review for it.
Which one?
The fourth one.
Hell yeah. So that's another one of those games I keep eyeballing on Amazon, like, when am I going to get it? When am I going to get it?
Last time I saw it, it was like $20.
Yeah, it's getting down there. But then I keep looking at the 360 version, which I know is the inferior product by far. But it's like, sub $10. So I keep looking at it like, eh.
Well, in my review, I go over some of the differences between the two
There's
versions.
at least one extra character in the PS3 version and, one disc.
I don't know.
And I lean towards PS3 anyway.
I'm not sure about the extra character though. I didn't hear anything about that.
I am. There's a character that's in all 4 Star Ocean games. A character that was added to the 2 PSP versions, and then that was in 3, and then was also in 4 in the international version. Check the Wikipedia. I'm sure there's a list on Wikipedia of what's new.
Just character, because I've never played the PSP versions of.
I never the character in the PSP versions. I just know that they're in all 4 versions. At least that's what I read. Whatever, man. My memory's retarded. I could be wrong. I'm making shit up. I'm crazy. Blah. How about that? You like that? I don't. I'm fucking. I need some goddamn sleep. Is what I need, man. I went to sleep at 6 a.m. and woke up by noon. If I get any less than 9, I'm fucking batshit insane all day.
Kind of reminds me of Bill Hicks. He was like, Lord, I need my sleep. There's no two bones about it. I need about 10 a day and 8 at night, and then I'm good.
Sounds about right to me, man. Okay. Let me find my notes. Okay, so there's... Balzac wrote in with this, but it also happens to be the first story on my show notes. The last story, Pandora's Tower, Xenoblade, there's a letter-writing campaign. There's a website, you go to it, Operation Rainfall or some such, print out a letter, mail it to Nintendo. Well, that was well and good, and I was getting ready to promote it, and I'll still read Balzac's letter at the end of the show. But there's also another story that popped up on Kotaku where Nintendo of America has heard you, and they don't give a shit, basically. Well, not so much. They say there's no plans at this time to bring these games to North America, but we have heard you, but there's still no plans. But that's PR speak. That doesn't mean it's impossible. That just means they're not saying one way or the other, but we've heard and we know you want it.
Companies all the fucking time, change their minds. Like, I remember at first, there was Bandai Namco basically saying, you're not getting any more Tales games, fuck you. And now all of a sudden they're like, oh yeah, we're going to bring over Tales of Grace's F. Well, enjoy.
Like I say, there's, I sort of misspoke. Not we heard and fuck you, but there is no plans at this time, which means we don't want to commit to an answer. They may very well know exactly what they're going to do at this time, but they don't want to say one way or the other.
Yeah.
There just might not be enough money in it for them, and we won't see these games. And it's a fucking shame, because if there's anything the Wii needs, is some fucking games. Especially right now, in its dying days.
Yeah, because the only game I can think of I'm remotely looking forward to is Zelda Skyward Sword. That's it.
Yeah, you and everybody else, dude.
I can't think of any game right now other than those 3 games that may come out.
They've been on life support for a year. The last thing that came out I gave a shit about was Donkey Kong Country, which is a great game. But before that, the last thing that came out I gave a shit about was I don't even know, because I've only got a handful of Wii games.
For me, it was No More Heroes 2, which I thought was awesome.
The last one I really remember wanting was Red Steel 2. Admittedly, I'm one of the idiots that enjoyed the first Red Steel when it came out. There's this one level in an amusement park, and there's this like horror movie element to it, and it's a really fun level, and I think makes the game worthwhile. And
I didn't get that far. I didn't like the game very much. I was just like, fuck
it
this.
controls wonky as shit. When I first got the Wii, that was the launch game I picked up, and I kept trying to explain to people, like, they're trying to aim by moving their arms all the fuck over, and I'm like, you just got to move like a couple centimeters left or right to keep that pointer on the screen. It's not.
Right.
It's not. The people were moving way too much, and it's like you got to keep the damn aiming reticule on the screen, guy. Come on, but
What's wrong with you, man?
I don't know. I liked it. The fourth, I think it's like the fourth level, and there's like this amusement park shootout and a bunch of scary shit, and like I think there were guys with rabbit masks, and there's a bunch of horrifying shit. Really good. Made the game worthwhile. I mean, if you still have it's worth getting to that level, but
actually, now that I think about it, I do remember. I think I did get to that part of the game. It was kind of interesting.
it was the best part of the game. The rest of it was fucking doo-doo. So I was kind of interested to see how Red Steel 2 improved upon that crap now that people understood what the Wii could and can't do.
The second game looked nothing like the first, though, at all.
Yeah, yeah, it's just in name only.
Pretty much. It's like, yeah, you can use your sword and shoot guns, like in the first one, and it's in first person. Except that, just the name.
Yeah, who cares?
It was like a cyber steampunk thing. I don't even know.
Now, how are you on your 80s movies?
I was
you big 80s movie fan?
I grew up in the 90s, so I know a few
It's
80s movies
weak.
here and there.
Fucking weak, dude. Have you ever seen War Games?
Nope.
Matthew Broderick classic. He I don't know the exact size of the floppy disk, but everybody knows the like 3.5 and 5 1/4, or maybe it's 3 1/4 and 5 1/2. I always get that shit backed up. Everybody knows those two floppy disks. But there's like this big 8-inch floppy that existed in the real early 80s, and he's got a computer that uses one of those, and I never noticed till the last time I watched it. But War Games, classic movie, some punk hacker in movie world where computer hacking is basically magic. He gets into...
That's all it is.
Yeah. he hacks into Whopper, W-O-P-R, some war simulation computer that's in charge of the world's nukes. And the computer thinks he's playing a game, or the kid thinks he's playing a game. The computer's about to launch nuclear missiles and cause Armageddon. That's the basic get down. Well, the director of King of Kong is apparently rebooting the War Games, and it's gonna be like a gritty reboot and more hacking where people type furious nonsense and get into the systems and cause some leak damage or whatever.
It kind of reminds me of that really crappy movie that I think it was just called Hackers and had like Angelina Jolie in it and Freddie Prinze Jr. That movie sucked.
Now I understand for a movie you have to have a graphic representation because the viewing audience in general don't know dick about computers, so they have to have something that's visually appealing. I understand that, but at the same time they portray it like it's fucking wizardry, and they're casting spells with their keyboards.
The fucking keyboards are their wands or something.
War Games is an interesting movie. It's on Netflix streaming. You should watch it. It's a classic video game movie.
It's on streaming?
Yeah, I watched it not that long. Well, it was a couple months ago. It may be gone. You know how easy come, easy go on Netflix.
Yeah.
So, but it was there a while ago. I also recommend Cloak and Dagger. That's about an Atari 5200 cartridge with some like Russian spy plans on it, and this kid having hallucinations of his childhood hero and murdering the shit out of people. It's a really good children's movie that would not get made today.
Oh, I think I remember that movie. Yeah, I think I saw that.
The
about the guy
hallucination character is played by the same actor as his dad, and it's good.
I think they're chasing around a character that's like missing a finger or something.
No, you're thinking of the old woman. She's the bad spy, and she's missing a finger. We're thinking of the same thing. That's another classic.
Yeah, I actually did see that one for a minute.
Classic movie. Absolutely loved it. See, another thing I saw was a book of video game poems, which, wow, I really don't give a shit.
Speaking of which, The Wizard is on Instant.
Ooh. Well, this is the best part of the show, the part where I go to Netflix and add that to my queue.
I haven't seen The Wizard since I was like 6 or something.
The last time I saw that was sometime in the real early 90s, and I went to the library and got it on VHS. And has been at least like 20 years almost. Let's see, The Wizard. The best part of Mondo Cool is adding to Instant Queue.
Yeah.
At least when I do it with the Folgers coffee jingle. There it is. And Instant Queue. Thank you. Did you get that out of the chat room?
Get what out of the chat room?
That Wizard's on Instant Stream. Was that something you knew, or is that just something you saw in the chat room?
I was on Netflix.
Okay. So I was getting ready to say, whoever found this gem, thank you. Thank you, Shintai. Thank you.
No problem.
Guys, I want to see that I love Mega Cheese. But there's a book of video game poems, and yeah, who cares? But there's a $500 special edition where it's like leather bound and fucking gold leaf edge. And see, I don't know if links in the chat room really work, but I'm going to go ahead and try to toss that in there for the dudes. They're going to get this link before they hear me say that, so have fun figuring that out. Thank you, 20-second delay. Some really sad news, man. This is some shit that tugs at my heartstrings. I might have to write a poem about it and then sell a $500 special edition. But Yu Suzuki is leaving his current role at Sega, so he's completely separated from Sega now. Or starting in, I think it was September. In September. And which he hasn't done anything at Sega. It's purely just ceremonial. Like, the way Japanese business works is weird and shitty in a lot of cases, where, you know, he fucked up with Shenmue and wasted all this money, but you can't get rid of Yu Suzuki, because when you think of every classic Sega arcade game, you know, from the 80s to mid-90s, it was fucking Yu Suzuki. Like, he's the developer that's on par with Shigeru Miyamoto, right? Like, he's one of the classic big fucking names. So you can't get rid of him. He is in my book, and anyone that likes Sega, I think they would agree to that.
I think he did Hang On. And,
yeah. Hang On, Space Harrier, Outrun.
Space Harrier.
Oh, God, my mind went blank. I think I just said Space Harrier, Virtua Fighter, you know, just all these classic arcade games that just whooped up on that ass, right? So yeah. He is, you know, one of my gaming idols, one of the big names I appreciate. Even if I don't like all of his games, I still appreciate the great things that Yu Suzuki did. The advancements in technology, Virtua Fighter's in the goddamn Smithsonian because it's the first 3D game. They had to work with aerospace companies to bring that technology to fucking arcades. That is important shit that changes the landscape of gaming, and that's fucking Yu Suzuki. But there's a good interview at Gama Sutra. I'll put the links to that in the show notes for anyone that is a real man and appreciates Yu Suzuki, who's basically the real-life Segata Sanshiro, if you didn't know. I mean, that's basically the same person. But he's leaving Sega, and he's going to be working on his own company. He's been working at both. But when shit like that happens in Japanese companies, they shuffle you around. Like, they won't fire your ass. They'll just put you in a ceremonial position where you can't really do anything but you can't do anything for other companies either. So kind of the same thing happened to Kaz Hirai or whoever, the dude that the father of the PlayStation. I think it's Kaz Hirai. I could be getting the name wrong. But after he fucked up with the PlayStation 3, they shuffled him around and just stuck him out of the way. Like the lackluster PS3 launch, which I don't think was as bad as everyone makes it out to be. But, he got shuffled around because it wasn't a success like PS1 and PS2.
Well, it's kind of hard to, the PS1 and PS2 were really great, successful consoles, and I'm sure, Sony expected the PS3 to be just as successful, but Microsoft really upped their game with the 360. So
I don't think so. I think
well, comparably to the original
the
Xbox.
only legitimate complaint. Well, yeah, if 33% failure rate is really bringing their A game.
I don't mean the quality of the consoles. I mean in terms of success.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that success is just Microsoft has enough money to do whatever the fuck they want. If it doesn't work, whatever, we can just up our marketing. And I think the PlayStation 3 for long term is people are looking at the short term right now, and that's why it had such a bad image when it first came out. Now it's catching up. Like, the difference in hardware units sold is about 5 million. Now, keep in mind, everyone that's ever owned an Xbox 360 has bought 4 of them. So that might have something to do with their sales numbers being skewed just a touch. I'm not saying, completely, but that definitely affects it, that so many people have gone through so many Xbox 360s. And everybody that bought the original ones bought the Slim, just because eventually those pieces of shit are going to kick the bucket anyhow. So I think that does affect sales numbers. But the PS3's steadily been catching up and closing that gap, given that there is a 1-year lead. I think that's amazing. The hardware is stronger, so that justifies its early cost. I mean, they were taking a hit on it. So,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't think it was as bad as everyone makes it. Is $600 the price I want to pay for a console? Fuck no. I see everyone's point, but long term...
But it's $300 now.
Yeah. Basically, if you get the similar 360, one with the similar amount of storage space, which you're going to need, so the $2 one is basically pointless. It just exists so they can say starting at $199, but go ahead and buy the $300 one anyway. Yeah. It looks better to say starting at $199, but yeah, whatever. We fuck that thing.
You really don't want that one. You want the other one.
For another $100, you can get the hard drive upgrade, and we can tax you twice.
It kind of reminds me of something I heard someone say before. There are 3 different kinds of people. There are people who live in the past, live in the present, and people who live in the future. And I think that kind of reflects gamers as well, because in a lot of ways, I think most people who pick up Microsoft's Xbox 360 are gamers that live in the present.
Yeah.
And I think gamers who pick up the PS3 are mostly gamers who, look forward to the future.
As time goes on, I find it harder and harder to justify the 360. I will tell everyone right now that I prefer the PS3, but a few years ago, my friend was like, you're the video game guy, which system should I get? And I was saying, honestly, if you plan on playing online, your preferences, you should probably get a 360, but here's the tips for getting, the current one that's less likely to fail. So, I was trying to be fair and balanced. Trying to be. I know everybody's prejudiced or biased or whatever, but I was trying to be, and I think everybody should at least try to be. And at the time, I was, saying, realistically, you like a lot of this type of game, you should probably get a 360. That'd probably be a better fit for you. He ultimately decided with the PS3, and on the inside, I was like, fuck yeah. Add you to the PSN list. But now... I really don't see the point, because now you're getting more exclusives on the PS3 it's starting to have the better library in terms of exclusives. And then there's games like L.A. Noire.
I was about to say that.
Yeah. They look better on a PS3, so they're starting to perform better on the PS3, which, that wasn't always true. Some games looked a lot better on the 360 because that's where they were primarily developed, and then the PS3 got a shitty port. But, so it looks better, but it's not on 3 discs, and that's a big selling point to me, because I really hated juggling discs in Mass Effect 2.
I mentioned Star Ocean before.
Yeah.
It's like 3 discs or something on the 360.
There are lots of games that are 3 discs on the 360.
I also have Castlevania Lords of Shadow, and I heard that was a multi-disc on the 360.
Oh, wow. See, that is some caveman shit. And ultimately, now that they've caught up in terms of that, the gaming library is starting to look a hell of a lot better on the PS3. And the 360 is showing its age with, the DVDs being multi-disc games, 2 and 3 disc games, man, that's nuts. So, and, the high-def movie thing, that's still a big selling point that, Blu-ray, so, I don't know. I don't even know how the hell we got going on that. I really don't, man. Anytime I get to, talk console versus console action. Man, whatever. Saw a shitty video on YouTube, Ryu versus Darth Vader. Who do you think would win?
What?
Here's why the video's interesting. No computer effects. Whenever Vader does force effects, they have a bunch of guys dressed all in black. Like you would do at a play. And, he force pushes Ryu, so then the guys dressed in black come and carry him away, and saber throw, and the guys in black do it, and it's really fucking cool, really well choreographed, and just very cool. But Ryu, Darth Vader, who do you think would win?
Darth Vader could just force choke Ryu, and then it's over.
Exactly. It depends on which universe. If Ryu is in the Star Wars universe, definitely, hands down, Force Lightning, Force Choke, Force Throw, Lightsaber. If Darth Vader was in the Street Fighter universe, he would be way toned down,
Yeah, he'd have to fight like a fighting game character should.
Like Darth Vader in Soul Calibur.
And then at that point, it wouldn't be a matter of which character is better. It's who's better with that character, who's playing the character, and who's good at.
Well, that's getting really meta. I'm just talking like in-game universe, continuity, not actual gameplay. Because usually the guest characters control like dick.
Well, I remember Link from Soul Calibur 2. He was actually pretty good.
I was going to say the same thing. He really fits in the game, but that may just speak to Soul Calibur being a good fighting game.
I really like Soul Calibur. It's one of the only fighting games I really got into.
The one with Link is the only one I really got into. I bought that same game, but on PS2, because it was in the $20 bin. Back when I was working at the airport, there's a store, Meijer, which, think Walmart Supercenter, but nicer. Is on my way home from work, so I'd all the time check out that $20 bin. It's like, oh yeah, man, this looks pretty good. But that Hiachi character, really don't give a shit. So I just played around for 5 minutes. Like, he ain't no Spawn and he ain't no Link. When I picked up Soul Calibur,
I played the Xbox version though, and Spawn's nothing special either.
Well, I got that modded Xbox, so I'll give that shit a download and a burn. But, good thing I don't have that PR company anymore, huh? No, I give that shit a download and a burn, and, give it a shot, because fuck it. Spawn's a pretty cool guy. He doesn't afraid of anything.
Indeed, doesn't afraid of anything.
But the video's cool. I'll toss up a link for that. And, yeah. Let's see. Adam the Hedgehog shot me a PM on Skype, and he sent me this link, and it's like an animated GIF with a sad song. It's one of those YTMND websites, if you remember those fads from a couple years ago. Which, oh no, you might not. You might not have been around for that. And basically it tells the story of this girl buying a copy of Animal Crossing, fucks around with it for a couple days. Yeah, this is pretty neat. Her mom has multiple sclerosis, gets absolutely sucked into the game. Eventually her mom dies. Few years later, dusts off Animal Crossing, goes into the in-game mailbox, and finds like 1,000 letters from her mom with a bunch of gifts for her to have in her game. And really fucking sad. Really touching. So, that's another thing that'll be in the show notes. Just toss that in the chat link for anyone that's terribly curious and wants to weep right now. Dude, shit's sad. Like, that's so fucking sweet, you know, that kid turns on the game and there's a bunch of gifts from the dead parent.
I'll check it out later.
It's a tearjerker, man. Now, have you ever seen those shitty knockoff consoles that play like real simple LCD games?
The Police Station 3 and the Nintendo V.
Yeah, stuff like that. There's one that looks kind of like a mix between the 360 Slim and the PS3, and it's got like a DualShock style controller. But what makes this one cool is when you buy it, it's got a bunch of, I think it's like Nintendo ROMs. It's some sort of basic-ass game on it. But you can also play media on it. So, like, kind of cool. $60, it's cheap.
Apparently it plays Game Boy and Neo Geo games.
Yeah, okay. I'm trying to bring up the article myself because I forgot all about it. I was looking at it and it's like, yeah, it looks pretty cool. Looks like it doesn't afraid of anything at all.
Being able to play some Game Boy games and Neo Geo games on this thing that has DualShock controllers, I mean, I guess that's kind of cool.
I've been meaning to write an article about this on the old Web Sizzle for a while. And, oh man, I just went to Kotaku and I have like 6 replies. I wonder what these idiots are trying to argue about that GameStop bullshit. But, because I know that's what it's for. That's the only thing I've been getting replied to today. But I've been clearing my notifications. So these 6 comments have happened since I started on the air. And,
you seem to be frequenting Retro's favorite website a lot.
that's where I steal all my news. When I put up the show note links, I put the source material, because seriously, fuck sending extra traffic to Kotaku. Those stories like, child cusses at other child, news at 11, that is not big news.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so...
The only reason anyone should go to Kotaku is for Retro Game Master, Game Center CX. Honestly,
I don't know, man. Like, if you... Like, I refresh it all day, every day to make show notes. And, it's good. It has good current gaming news, but you have to sort through a bunch of bullshit.
I shouldn't have to sort through a bunch of bullshit.
Well, it's gaming related, and it's not all bullshit, it's just not all of it's newsworthy. You know, like that video with the Ryu fighting Darth Vader. Not really newsworthy, but at the same time, the lack of special effects, the way they did it, like a stage production, was pretty fucking cool. So I'll talk about it and throw a link in there, because I think that's something that has merit and is worth sharing. But
still, though, everyone should go there to watch Retro Game Master, because that show is genius.
Did you see the episode with the first one? Did you see the Ninja Gaiden episode?
Yes, I did.
God, the way he was saying Ryu was really bothering me, and just a couple of the words that, you know, was
at first I was a little thrown off with the English speaking narrator, but he kind of grew on me at some point. That was just me, though. Yeah,
I don't know. It was okay. I like the pure subtitle version.
Me too. I prefer it for it all be in Japanese and just read the subtitles. But
The guy was kind of annoying.
He was at first for me, but I kind of got over it. I was like,
but Kotaku has its merit when they actually cover news stories. When they actually cover actual news. Anyway, Critical Failure just popped on, so going to add him to the call and see if what this dude's up to. Woo, dead air. Hey, what's up?
Hey, am I on the air?
Yeah, you're on there.
"Bar."
Great, I got a question for Jerry. Oh, yeah, go ahead, dude. When are you coming to Baltimore, man?
I'm gonna be in Baltimore in September.
Are you really?
Yes, that's when the tour is swinging to the East Coast.
Oh, sweet.
No, why would I be in Baltimore? What's going on in Baltimore?
I don't know.
There's
a whole lot of murder. That's what's going on in Baltimore.
Sweet. Always wanted to see Maryland.
I've been playing. I haven't been playing myself. But I've been watching this other guy play LA Noire. I thought all the murder was happening there.
They do have a fair share of murder.
So
Rockstar does a really good job of making it look like some place having a lot of murder. Like
they're making it look fun.
It's what's really funny. You may not believe me, but down here in Miami, when Grand Theft Auto Vice City came out, the news was actually trying to make all these different segments about it, and it was really weird. And they approached people about it on the street, and this one guy was like, "Yeah, I have the game. I play it. It's a lot of fun." I was like, "This is newsworthy." It was so weird. It was just the news talking about Vice City. It's like, is this game giving Miami a bad name? Blah, blah, blah. I was just like...
No, Miami is giving Miami a bad name.
Hey, we've got all the big booty bitches down here, so...
Nice. Oh, that's right. You're from there, aren't you?
I am a
yes,
fan
I am.
of butts. So
how else would I know about all the news segments?
I don't know. The interwebs.
To interwebs, yeah. I'm gonna look back at like 6-7-year-old news from Miami.
I don't know. Derpy derp. Too bad.
Okay, so video game news. I was reading through this Kotaku comics. There's another person that I'm crying about used games with, and so I was reading through that and whatever. There's this game. It's being made in it's being made somewhere, but it's like Arabic, right? And so some Middle Eastern fucking country. I forget which because I didn't make a note because I'm a bit of a idiot, I suppose. But it's called Unearthed, and it looks like a rip-off of Uncharted. And I'll link to it, and you can see the video, and it's real buggy, like pre-alpha stage. But it looks like it has some promise, and I guess it's cool to see some sweet Arabic games, I suppose.
I guess.
I mean, whatever. It's cool to see more people making games. It's going to be coming out on the PS3, and
I guess if you're Arabic, that really rocks. So in that sense, it's cool.
when do you get to fight Allah? That's what I want to know. It's not found.
That's like a big thing. Like for like the Muslims, if some of that stuff gets in a video game, they get really pissed about that. You remember the whole
the thing with Little Big Planet where they had a song that referenced it. And, well, that's kind of like the Westboro Baptist Church where, you know, it's like saying all Baptists are fucking batshit insane. You know, we only hear about the ones that go batshit insane because they're the ones going batshit insane.
Yeah.
But, yeah,
really,
you're not supposed to show.
Just to clear up, not that they get mad when their god is being presented. It's more their prophet Muhammad.
I saw a picture of Muhammad painting Allah, like a picture of Muhammad painting Allah of a picture of Muhammad painting Allah, and you mad? It's like, oh, zing. Fuck your sacred rules, assholes.
See, that's the problem. Why are we being held accountable for their rules? That doesn't make sense.
Whatever, we're all infidels and we're all gonna burn in hell.
Especially me.
Especially everyone, man. All of us. We're all going to hell. And we're all terrible, wicked sinners.
I thought there was no hell. We're all going to the particles in the nebulae where we were formed, and the thingy with
This is according to the Muslim belief.
Oh, okay.
We're infidels. I don't believe that. I'm just a dude that likes video games and slapping big butts.
Fuck you, I'm an infidel. That shit rocks.
You fucking infidel! You heathen! Blasphemer!
Let's see. I'm going to skip that news story because I can't read the title.
I like that.
There's a PSP game with purple tentacle rape or some shit.
Oh, sweet.
Okay, I'll try to pronounce Shirogane no Kao to Suoku no Jio.
Props.
Yeah, no one cares.
Are you doing this in order? It would be cool to know where exactly we are.
We're at PSP Double Pack, $15 available this week, PSN at retail.
Alright, I see. Awesome.
That's where we're at. So, hey, next story. Some PSP Double Packs are coming out for $15. You can buy that shit at retailers or PSN.
So what exactly do you get?
Oh, what you get is, see, the first double pack is Secret Agent Clank and Daxter.
Okay.
And then Siphon Filter, Logan Shadow, and Killzone Liberation. And then Siphon Filter, Dark Mirror, and SOCOM US Navy SEALs. Now, what I don't get is why they mix-matched the Siphon Filter games. Like, Secret Agent Clank and Daxter go together because they're goofy, anthropomorphic, animal platformer games.
Hey, how are the Siphon Filter games these days? Last one I played was number 2 on the PS1.
I hear the PSP games are pretty good, but of course it's going to suffer from no dual analog sticks.
I even have one on the PS2, but I've never played it even once.
I played the demo for the first one. That's my...
God, I love that game. That game is awesome.
Level of involvement.
It's like... I know it's like trying so hard to be Metal Gear Solid, but at the same time, so awesome.
It's Metal Gear meets Tomb Raider, as I like to call it.
That's not bad. But
it was so much more guns, though.
The Metal Tomb Raider.
My complaint here is that the Siphon Filter comes with Killzone Liberation, which is free for anyone with a PlayStation Network account. So there's no point to buy that at all. There's no point to buy Killzone Liberation ever again, because if you have a PSN account, you can go download that shit right now for free.
Yep.
Even if you downloaded the other 2 games on PSN, create another PSN account, grab the other 2 PSP games you didn't get. I have everything that PSN offered for free in America and Europe. I got like 6, 7, 8 games or some shit.
Nice.
But that's... See, for $15, I would buy the 2 Siphon Filter games. I would buy that, because I have no interest in any of the other ones. So I think it's weird that they mix-matched them like that. Either of you dicks play World of Warcraft?
I used to, a lot.
How into it were you?
I really liked a good solid hour a day, which was like nothing for WoW players, but to me it seemed like a lot. Like this story that I'm reading that you're about to say, like the trial would last forever for me.
Okay. Yeah, the way they're giving out, getting people hooked is there's no more like 8-day or 15-day trials. It's now you can play up to level 20. And is that a sign that World of Warcraft is dying? Or
But
they
here's
really
the
want
thing,
to get
though.
you hooked?
Something that might change the way you look at that is the longer that game has been out, the more they have ever over time changed the way it works to make it easier.
Yeah.
Okay, like when the game first got online, getting a party together to do a dungeon took hours because you had to be in a town and you had to be around the people, and there were certain things. And now it's like there's like an applet that does it automatically. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's little things like that cut down the leveling time a great deal. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So that's probably like from 1 to 20 is probably not nearly as long as it was, say, 2 years ago.
Well, at the same time, I assume it's significantly longer than a free 15-day trial, depending on how much time you really throw at it all at once.
You have to. It's a strict ratio of days of playing versus number of chins the player has.
Is there a Venn diagram involved? It sounds like it. It sounds like that kind of informational graphic. Yeah, no thanks.
Me too.
I thought about it, but man,
especially now that they've added free to play MMOs to Steam, you can go play Champions Online for fucking nothing.
There's this
World of Warcraft.
There's this peripheral coming out for the Wii, right? Which great timing, right in its final death throes. This $200 stationary bicycle that you plug into the GameCube port, and it's got a little Wii bicycle game, and you pedal along and steer somehow, and $200. Cyberbike-thegame.com, which everyone that's playing the game just lost right now. I say that because as soon as I read that, I just lost it. Oops. My friend is the world champion of the game because he's too retarded to understand it, but I explained it to him once.
My favorite is the graphic of the board game from Lost. It just says Lost the game.
Man, let's see. Yeah, but $200. That costs more than a Wii right now, and that costs more than a Wii and Mario Kart Wii combined, because that's the new pack-in. So, oh well, it's a thing. It exists.
I would care if it was something awesome, like something related to a fun game. But it's a fucking bike that plugs into the Wii. Who gives a shit?
You know, if it worked with Paperboy, I would buy it.
Really? I wouldn't.
Fuck no, I wouldn't. I was just being fucking cute. Because that's the only game I can think of that you ride a bike and anyone gives a shit about.
Might as well have a tall plastic cylinder shaft attached to the top of the bicycle seat.
Every time I think of Paperboy, I just think of Herbert the Pervert from Family Guy.
Alright. Saw this light switch modification. And using arcade buttons, you can turn your lights on and off. It's kind of cool. Looks like a fun project.
Nice.
Something that you can see in the show notes when I shit up tomorrow. You what?
I said, you know they've had the clapper for years, right?
Yeah, but I've never owned one. I only use light switch technology, and I think upgrading to button push technology may be the way to go. All these years I've been needlessly flicking up and down in the vertical plane when I really need to be pushing in the horizontal plane.
That's a lot of thinking about turning on a light, bro. That would be like the trippiest laser light ever.
And I added this to the show notes, but we started off the show. Nintendo has heard the message. Still no plans at this time for those 3 Wii games that there's a letter writing campaign for. So,
Nintendo listen up, Nintendo fans. Nintendo doesn't give a fuck about you. Nintendo doesn't give a fuck about their customers or their potential customers. It's Nintendo. They don't give a fuck about anything. Have you seen a picture of Nintendo headquarters? Do you really think they have to give a fuck about anything?
No, I
Define corporate monster. There's a picture of Nintendo in the encyclopedia.
I tend to agree, sir. Nintendo hasn't made a good decision for gamers in 15 years. Not a single one. Every decision has been absolutely baffling. And I think it's funny that people call the Wii a success just because everybody has one, but it's the ultimate hoodwink. They got every fucking dipshit to buy one, and the motherfucker don't do anything. Except for give Nintendo millions and millions of dollars to sit around and roll through like Scrooge McDuck.
My Wii right now has been relegated to my parents' room and is used as a Netflix machine.
Same here.
Mine is used for a Netflix machine. There's a couple of games that I fire up every now and then. Eventually, I'll get around to finishing Donkey Kong Country. I suffer from gaming ADD, where I start a game, get halfway through it, move on to the next thing, get halfway through it, and then go back to the first game and finally beat it.
Yeah.
So, I'll eventually finish up Donkey Kong Country. I'm like 60% through that game, and really liked it. It's just something else popped up and.
Games.
Yeah, Nintendo, Raffle. Everything they do is basically progressively more and more stupid.
But I honestly do want these 3 games to come out because I haven't played a really good action RPG in a while. I think the last one was Star Ocean 4, which I did really enjoy. These 3 games are all action RPGs, surprisingly. And
what worries me is these games that people are begging for, they're going to wait too long. And then they're actually going to try and put them out and no one's going to give a fuck anymore.
Someone... there was something that... It wasn't in the show notes, but I did want to mention this, and I just now remembered it. There was another thing on Kotaku where they were talking about the evolution of the PlayStation controller. And, there was the basic one that didn't have the analog sticks. Then there's one that I didn't know about till last week, where it had analog sticks, but it wasn't a dual shock. It just had analog sticks that had longer handle grips. And then the dual shock, then the dual shock 2, 6-axis, dual shock 3. And someone's like, evolution, LOL. And this thing didn't evolve. And my brilliant asshole response is, you're right, it didn't evolve. It was intelligently designed from the beginning, so they haven't had to make retarded controller after retarded controller like dumbass Nintendo.
I love it. I see what you did there.
I'm glad you see. I'm glad you. It was intelligently designed from the beginning. And I think that is the perfect fucking cherry on top. And I haven't gotten any fucking replies to that comment, which pisses me off because that's just fucking.
It was a good one.
Perfect level of zen.
Well done, my friend.
And I happen to agree with it. They made a good controller, and 15 years later, it's still good. And every controller that people also like is basically emulating it.
Yeah.
Look at the GameCube's controller. Minus the retarded face button layout, it's trying to be a DualShock. It's trying its hardest, but just barely coming up short.
The prime example, the evidence that supports what you're saying, is third-party controllers, like gamepads for the PC. What does every dual-stick gamepad for the PC look like?
Like a DualShock. Even if you compare it to a 360 controller, the only thing that's really different is they flipped the placement of the D-pad and analog stick, which I understand why they do it. You're primarily using the analog stick these days, so they put it in the main place. I like the way the DualShocks look. I think they look more symmetrical, and I think that layout just makes more sense and is more visually appealing. But every modern game controller is trying to be that. The fucking Wii and their Classic Controller Pro is laid out exactly like a DualShock.
Pretty much.
So
I wonder if they had that thing in if they had that thing in design from the beginning, and they just put out that original one so that it didn't quite look exactly like they're just ripping the DualShock off.
Oh God, I don't know.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, people are like, oh, Sony stole it from the Super Nintendo design, and Nintendo's really. Well, they look similar in that they have shoulder buttons and a similar diamond-shaped face button layout. And
however, Sony was smart and they added handles.
Yeah, so it's more comfortable. But
well,
if you
to
look
be fair,
at it,
back in the Super Nintendo
look
days, they didn't need them because they weren't as heavy.
The original PlayStation controller without the rumble is not heavy at all. Just like the 6-axis controller, the one without the rumble is light as hell. So
not only
really
that, but it didn't have
other than ergonomics.
Not only that, but it didn't have analog sticks either, so it was even lighter.
So
I would like to get that first revision PS1 controller, the one with analog sticks, but no vibration, because those actually have concave analog sticks instead of the rounded convex ones.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, I know what you're talking
it's
about.
It's real weird looking. I never saw it until I saw this YouTube video where they show every PlayStation controller. And it's about the grip's about an inch and a half longer. And the shit dips in. And it was only on the market for like a couple months before the DualShock came out. It's really,
sounds like
really
something would be
interesting
nice
to
to
see
look at, but not something fun to play with.
I don't know. Everyone that has said they used it said they liked the way it felt more. It just didn't have the rumble, which isn't, a deal breaker because I still have my 6-axis. And now, granted, when I go back to using my PS2 from time to time and a game starts rumbling, it always catches me off guard. I'm like, whoa, this is amazing. Because the most of my gaming hours is spent without rumble these days. So whenever it.
Do you remember when controllers would rumble and you wouldn't even notice?
Oh, man. Yeah, I do. Back in the PS2 days, it's like, yeah, whatever. I would always hate it because I sit my controller down during cutscenes all the time. And then it goes flying off my desk. It's like, fuck. Need to.
The only time the only time that was ever really cool was when Psycho Mantis was like, "Put the controller on the ground," and you're like,
"I'm
"Oh,
going to move it with my mind." Oh, here we go! Wow, me, Psycho Mantis.
The thing is, though, that scene makes no sense if you had a controller that didn't have the rumble.
They take that out. If you play it without the rumble, that scene isn't in there.
That's not true because I had a controller.
It is true. Oh, it's so true, dude.
On PlayStation 3 and PSP, they still say it. But granted, on PS3, it doesn't know if I have a 6-axis or DualShock. So
I've played through it more than a bunch of times on the PS1. I don't know how it translates to the later technology, but at least the PS1 version knew.
Well, for me,
let's all cut each other off. It's more fun. Especially when it gets Jerry angry.
You should be able to find out by turning the analog mode off. I could see it being able to recognize that. I mean, it doesn't sound like bullshit, but
when I played through the game on the PS1, that scene always came up, and I was really confused as a kid because I would put it on the ground and nothing happened.
Oh, that's weird.
I just, every time I played it on a PS1, or PS2 for that matter, always had a DualShock.
You know why I say that? Because when I was a kid, people used to talk about how cool that scene was. That he would make the controller move, and I didn't have a DualShock at that time, so I never saw him do it. And I was like, I played through it, and I saw that scene. I was like, that line's not in there. Well, why is it not in there? That's because I didn't have one. And I went back and played through it again once I got one, and there it was.
I'm intrigued, but not enough to personally test this out, because I'd have to plug in a PS1 and find my non-DualShock controller, which, wow,
okay,
that's even possible.
Here's what I'm thinking, CF. Did you have a greatest hits copy or an original copy of Blacklist?
This was a long time ago. It was an original copy on a PS1.
See, I had an original copy. I was thinking maybe they updated it for like the greatest hits version or something. But
Well, the game originally came out in 1998, so the DualShock was already the standard that came boxed with the game or the system. So I doubt they would have added that in the greatest hits version. I don't know, man. Next time I get a bug up the ass to play some Metal Gear Solid, I'll try to find my PlayStation controller.
I thought that was one of those games you beat annually or something.
All the
He
time,
beats
man.
it anally, not annually.
I've been
those games you beat anally.
I've been through the game 20 or 30 times, but the last time I really played it was probably 2009, because I was playing it on my PSP before work and after work.
I want to play through it with the tuxedo again. I haven't done that in a lot of years.
But
Last time I played it was the GameCube version, I think.
Anyway, I got this here interview, and it's with some dude from a website about Sega. And we talk a lot of shit, lulls are had, and it's a long one, but I'm going to go ahead and kick that shit over to the interview now. All right, I'm speaking with DJ Fobfresh from SegaShiro.com. How are you doing?
Pretty damn good. You know, I'm doing even better because you got my name right.
What are some of the popular
I've
contenders?
gotten Bob Fresh. Bob Fresh is the most common one, and no, it's the Fob Fresh.
Well, my my internet handle, Jerry Terrifying, arises from a similar issue, but with real life and my real name. My name's Jared. And when I was a kid, I assume I just don't know how to speak clearly or something. So I'd introduce myself. Hi, I'm Jared. Oh, hi, Jerry. It's like, what? Fuck you.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, you know, it's 2011. That name, you see it in movies, you hear it on TV, and it's becoming more and more popular. So I think it was just no one had ever heard Jared when I was a little child off in the 80s, and Jerry was the closest thing they had. So that's I mean,
you're a trailblazing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why it's popular today.
Exactly.
But that's where the Jerry and Jerry Terrifying comes from. And,
Good stuff.
It's, you know, it's a cute story, I guess. So the biggest thing to get out there is why Sega?
Why Sega?
It's a big question. You can tackle it however you want, but
I mean, there's so many reasons. One is just that I think if you look on the net, if you look just even with other gamers, there's so many misconceptions about what Sega's done and what they didn't do.
Yeah.
And so when you'll mention a game and they're like, "Oh, that game's great," and then you'll say, "Oh yeah, I can't wait till Sega releases another game," and they're like, "Sega sucks," right? And you're just like, "What just happened?" Right? That was the Sega game I just told you about, and they're just like, it's done and new. But that's not the main reason. Like if I kind of go back in time to when I was a child. My first console wasn't actually a Sega. It was a TurboGrafx 16 that was busted. Like I had to smack the top of it to get it to play in color, and so I sort of scrimped and saved. And I don't know if I was just a byproduct of that amazing '90s Blitz advertising that they had, but the console I wanted was the Genesis, and I got a Super Nintendo shortly after. But the Genesis was the one that I don't know, I stuck to and I loved the most.
That's really interesting that your first console is a TurboGrafx. That's not a popular answer for a lot of people.
Yeah, exactly. Like I remember another thing is even earlier in time, someone handed me an NES controller with Mario in it, and I must have been like 3. I didn't know what I was doing, and so I took that little fat plumber and I ran him across the screen, and he fell into that first fucking hole. And I gotta say that I was scarred. I was like, this game isn't fun. I don't know what you people are doing or what you're playing. And then you go over to Sonic, and I mean, what do you get? You get a blazing color and then a loop to loop, I was like, no, this is fun, right? So it kind of stuck with. I don't know, that 3-year-old death when they handed me the controller too soon stuck with me for a little bit, and that stupid dog that laughed.
That's interesting,
Yeah.
the way children's minds work.
Exactly. And then, really though, I didn't really become a Sega fan until the Saturn, which was ridiculous because I don't know, somehow I trended in the opposite way of every other video game player out there, where everyone was like playing N64 and talking about Super Mario.
I've become branded amongst the YouTube gaming community, the handful of people that know who the hell I am there, of being the Sega Saturn guy.
Exactly.
And the reason that is I know I've made a lot of videos about it, but I didn't really get into the Saturn until around 2006.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, the Sega Saturn was the first 32-bit console I played. It was over at my aunt's house. Her boyfriend at the time, dude named Stan, some threatening-looking biker type. My aunt is like fucking drunk as shit, riding on her Harley all the time. She's one of those ladies. Cool as fuck. But her man at the time, Stan, had a fucking Sega Saturn. So that was my first time playing a 3D game, Panzer Dragoon.
Nice.
And so fast forward a few years later, they break up. They offer to sell it to me, and that's the absolute last time I heard of the Sega Saturn. And I honestly forgot that thing existed until I started getting heavy into picking up consoles that I missed as a kid. Once I got a real job in 2006, man, me and eBay were in tight. And, boxes every day. And, I've built up this massive collection of old consoles. And that's how I've discovered Sega, is kind of an outsider looking back in at what I missed and what I really wish I'd gotten into. Because Sega has so many quirky and odd things. And where I fit into this as being the Sega Saturn guy, so I've made a bunch of videos about the Saturn with the Netlink, showing some Netlink matches that I recorded,
Yeah, that's friggin' wicked.
In 2009 and 2010, because the motherfucker still works. I can fire that shit up today. And I think that is so ahead of its time, that the Sega Saturn can do everything a modern console can do. I've got the MPEG playback card, so I can watch...
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I've got 2 of those. I found one for $20, and the $20 one is way fucking nicer than the one I paid out the ass for. It lets you play the photo CDs and has, the better features and shit. So that's why I'm the Sega Saturn, because I keep making all these videos about, like, well, if you think that's fucking cool, the Sega Saturn had a GPS unit.
Exactly.
Top that, Nintendo. You can't even get your network to work. This 15-year-old piece of hardware works fucking better.
Yeah, the thing about the entire Sega Saturn was, yes, it was so quirky, right? And you have like something like Grasshopper Manufacture now doing No More Heroes and punk rock games, but I almost look at Sega and in that 32-bit era, and they were a punk rock system, right? And I've always had that feeling about Sega, even earlier on, sort of in the Genesis era, but. Man, that Saturn, like, just that fact that Netlink still works, like, that's ridiculous. That's awesome, right?
Yeah, a lot of people are so unfamiliar with that kind of technology, the modem-to-modem gaming. I used to play Age of Empires on my PC that way, the direct dial technology, and it's so fucking cool that they went that route and that it's, still officially works as long as you have an analog phone line, which there's the real challenge. So many people switched over to digital in the past 5 years.
That's true, yeah.
That is starting to become an issue. It's not just, head on eBay, grab a Netlink, which are fucking cheap. You can get one. I got one complete in box, mint as hell, for $20 shipped.
That's awesome.
You would think that, something is... But no one cares about the Saturn, and the few people that care about the Saturn don't know what the hell a Netlink is.
Well, funny story today. I actually had one of the Japanese Saturns busted out, and I met a bunch of retro console gamers, young guys that were just starting, and so I've actually done contract work for Nintendo a bunch of times. So they all know me as the Nintendo guy, which is really weird for me because in my head I'm the diehard Sega guy.
Yeah, I think I was listening to an episode of your podcast, and you were like one of those reps that goes store to store. Is like the vibe I was getting. You didn't really go into a lot of specifics of what you did with Nintendo, but it sounded like you were one of the reps that goes store to store.
Oh yeah, I am.
Okay.
And Nintendo doesn't really like us talking about it, for whatever reason, even though they hire us. But anyways, they don't like us talking about it when it's not, sanctified by them.
Yeah,
But,
when you're not giving the corporate spiel.
Exactly. And so they all know me as a Nintendo guy, but so I busted out a Japanese Saturn today and plunked down some Marvel vs. Capcom for them. And I was like, well, you're playing Part 4 or Part 3 or whatever it is that's now on PS3.
Yeah, let's see where where it started.
Yeah, and they were just loving it. And I'm like, it's still the best fighting gamepad you'll ever use.
Oh, fuck yeah, man. The best 2D pad, hands down, is the Saturn pad.
Yep.
And, I would also say that the 6-button Genesis controller is also pretty damn.
Oh, yeah.
They're basically the same thing, though.
I like the shape, the sort of the Batarang shape more of the Saturn one.
It definitely has a strong Batarang vibe.
Exactly. It's just a shocking little system.
The more you learn about it,
Yeah.
I was really taken aback when I found out there's a GPS antenna and LCD screen, and
yeah.
you could put these things in cars and navigate Japan in 1997.
Yeah.
It's such a kooky little thing, the floppy disk drive.
Yeah.
That's something that, if I won the lottery, I would
Totally.
waste money on that,
Yeah.
but there's no way in hell I'm dropping, $500-$600 on one.
Oh, definitely.
If I had to work for that money, that's never gonna happen.
Yeah.
But I'm a bit of a tightwad. Some of these collectors, man, they have no problem hoarding up all these huge amounts of cash to throw around and pick up these oddball pieces of history. But it would be cool to have,
Oh, definitely. I wouldn't say no, but my paycheck often says no for me.
Yeah, you've got real life things to worry about, like, not starving to death and rent.
Yes, exactly.
Um,
But when to talk, I finally got that 3D TV. So I mean, that was a big that was a big chunk of change right there.
Wait. Did you just say you own a 3D TV?
I officially own a 3D.
Man.
Yeah.
I think I didn't catch that really because of the insanity of it. I think you're the first person
Yeah.
that I've spoke to that owns one of those things. See, when they first announced it, I just, within months, made my last payment on my 40-inch fucking high-def TV, right?
Okay,
And so I'm like, no, fuck you.
You're like, it's not happening.
Upgraded to this thing, and no, you TV manufacturers can go straight to hell.
Well, I can say honestly, it wasn't something I was originally if I go back 6 months that I was originally thinking of doing. It would be it was a concept. Okay, well, whatever TV I get next will have 3D in it. But then, of course, what ends up happening is the TV I was perfectly happy with one day turns on with a spider crack in one side, and it's just not big, just oh look, there's a piece of fluff on the TV. Go to blow it off. Oh my god, it's not a piece of fluff. It's on there all the time. And,
Any theories on how that came to be?
There's some speculation. I don't know. I think something just must have tapped it.
Yeah, man,
And
that
it just
is
hit it in
rough.
one spot. And so that to me, that was it. I was like, well, this is going to happen sooner than later, because, when it wasn't even dead center of the screen. It was sort of off to one side, but just between seeing it, it would catch your eye if the screen was panning across.
Yeah.
Something. So it was really annoying. So.
Well, I mean, did you end up selling it or keeping it, or? Because it's never bad to have multiple TVs around the house if you get down with System Link or LAN party type gaming shit,
Oh yeah, no, we got that. So it's gonna become the computer monitor.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Well, I don't know, man. Let me know how that goes, because then you're inches away with that spider crack just glaring at you.
that's true. But I don't game on my PC usually, and I mean it was all right. And we might take it up to up north and stick it in there. So there we don't even have an HD TV. So it even with its spider crack, it'd be an upgrade.
But have you had a chance to play any 3D games yet?
Oh, I mean that is partly the reason I'm so tired. It's just I've been doing it irresponsibly. So it's the LG, the Cinema 3D. I don't know if you know, but these are the ones that use the theater glasses.
Yeah.
So we literally like 2 days ago we went out to go see Green Lantern, and I told all my buddies, yeah, steal those glasses, they're coming back. And yeah, so this thing, so they don't need to be powered, they don't flicker, which is the big thing for me, is that really bothered my eyes.
Yeah.
And you just sit there.
Well, I've never used the shutter glasses. The only real experience I have with 3D is the 10 minutes I spent in Best Buy with the 3DS, and like I've got a gimped up left eye, so I just never really gave a shit. Like with the 3DS, I had to crank it all the way up.
Oh yeah.
I could just start to see the 3D, and it's like, I guess this Pilot Wings game is cool flying through these rings. It helps a little,
Yeah.
I guess, but not $250 worth of help. So.
Well, see, I mean, that's part of the reason why I keep re-signing with these Nintendo contracts, is that I love the idea of what Nintendo's were doing, and I get the equipment, right? So I got my 3DS pretty early, and playing around with that was cool. But, it's nothing compared to the glasses 3D that I'm seeing on the big screen. Just watching PS3 and PS3 quality graphics, I'm just like, whoa. So anyways, we were playing MotorStorm yesterday, and you know how you can taunt in the game?
Yeah.
And so literally we're sitting kind of close to the TV because we're setting up the 5.1, we're just testing it. And there's one scene where we're on the motorcycle and I hit the button to taunt, and the guy swings his hand back. It literally looked like it was coming out to smack my friend in the face, that he like moved back, and I was like, there we go. 3D has its place.
Yeah,
and
it sounds like it's finally made it then.
Well, for me it has. The non-powered glasses were the key, and just the playing Killzone and some of that stuff. When I wearing the 3D glasses, like I can be bad with modern gaming sometimes. Like I'll turn it on, and then I'll turn on like the radio, and I'll turn on the TV as well. So I'm like multitasking while playing this game, because games are so much easier now, right? That you don't even need your full brain. But putting on the 3D, I am sucked right into the game. I'm impressed. I could see why they're pushing it. They've done a terrible job doing it, like pushing it in sort of to the market. But I think now, and sort of the next wave of 3D stuff, is going to win over a lot of people. But
the main thing that keeps me at a distance is the cost. The greatest thing 3D TVs have done is made giant 60 fucking inch TVs cost less than $1,000. That's the great thing 3D TVs have done. Have made HD TVs so fucking affordable. And so that's the greatest good they've done. But the next big thing will come along, and all these 3D TVs will be, old hat, and they'll just be massively cheaper, which is when I will think about dabbling
in that zone. Yeah. I mean, I think Sony's big push to kind of release those 24-inch monitors.
I can't go that small.
Yeah.
I got to upgrade, and that would be a massive downgrade. It's 40 inches and up now, and then once I get a bigger TV, it'll be 50 and up, and there's just nothing smaller in my in my realm of existence now.
Fair enough. Yeah, so I mean, I actually upgraded the size, so that was good. So I'm at a 42 right now, and for the space I'm in, it's just about perfect, to be honest. And I wouldn't have done it if the TV hadn't done the spider crack thing. But, I gotta say, the 2D picture quality on it is unbelievable.
I can definitely understand the spider crack, like a tiny issue, and you're like, well, fuck it, there's no way out of this now.
Exactly.
I understand the reasoning. That's definite man thinking.
Yeah.
Nope, gotta get a 3D TV. It's gotta be twice as big. There's just no way around it, woman. You shut up.
It's like, if our child was broken, wouldn't we want to go take it to the hospital? I mean, we can't take the TV to the hospital, so we just got to get a new one.
Touche.
Yeah.
Touche. That's interesting to hear something really positive. I would be up to trying it. It's not like I'm 3D stupid depth. Fuck that. It's just for the price that the TVs are still at, they're still pretty up there, and I'm bumming it right now. So there's no 3D in my immediate future, but it'd be something cool to check out. And but
Like I said,
I've never tried the shutter glasses at a movie theater either, so I don't know
Well,
if that would bother me or not.
Well, at the movie theater, it isn't the shutter glasses; it's the lens filters.
Okay.
And so that is the only reason why I went for this one, because if it was Shutter, no way. And I've seen a bunch of 3D movies, like Avatar and all that crap, and I found those experiences genuinely enjoyable. So, with a TV that used the same technology, I was cool with that, right? I was like, I've already seen this and done this a bunch of times. It's not like people who pick up the 3DS the first time and they're like, wow, my eyes hurt, right?
Now, with the tinted glasses, I mean, is it like playing the game with sunglasses, or are the colors still vibrant? Is there any, like, color issue going on?
Oh, actually, what the TV actually does is it actually brightens the entire image as soon as you go to 3D, and the colors are fine.
So, if you're watching it without the specialized future goggles, it's gonna murder your eyes with super bright, vibrant.
Well, no, you just turn the 3D off and it tones it back.
Well,
down.
The casual observer, someone walking through the room, they're gonna walk through and it's gonna be a Technicolor nightmare.
It'll look like someone smeared Vaseline all over the screen. It won't look super bright.
Okay.
But it'll look. They're like, why is the picture so hazy?
That's interesting to totally go off into this.
3D, yeah. Well, I mean, the funny thing is that seeing the difference between the 360 and the PS3 is that Sony has obviously put this in their plan going forward, probably because they're making 3D TVs, right?
Oh, definitely.
And the way the system handles it all is amazing, whereas the 360, they just left it up to the developers. But there was one time I was trying Crysis in 3D, and I was like, oh yeah, this is looking pretty cool, and I think I got an achievement or someone sent me a message, and it just came out, and of course the dashboard isn't redone in 3D, so it doesn't sit there nicely on the screen. It's like this crazy split images that like screws with your eyes, and I'm just like, frig's sakes, Microsoft, right? Like you couldn't just have, patched in something that if it saw that the game was running in 3D. It's just
that
typical.
seems like an obvious, not an obvious thing to miss. I don't know, just wow, really?
It just seems lazy. It just seems lazy. So
no one's caught this and
and updated
it yet.
Especially when you pretty much boot up any Microsoft game and if you're connected, you get an update.
Yeah, I've always thought the 360s. When people sign on, I've always thought that was more obnoxious where it's placed on the screen.
Yeah.
And then compared to the PlayStation, so it's up in the right-hand corner where there's almost never anything important up there.
Exactly.
It's it's out of the way of most HUDs, so it's
yeah. It's not quite so in your face. But then again, for some reason everyone I talk to cares about that achievement number more than they care about their number of trophies.
Yeah, to me they're the exact same thing. The only game I've ever gone out of my way to get any trophies was Sonic All-Star Racing.
Nice.
And, oh my god, I hate racing games. Racing games are fucking garbage. To me, opinion-wise.
Okay, yeah.
My girlfriend, absolutely, if you can drive a car, she loves it. But, I hate that shit. She picked me up that. I asked for it for, Christmas or birthday or something. She picked it up for me. Fucking love it. I'm like 3 or 4 trophies away from platinuming it. And, I was like, well, I want to get a little extra enjoyment out of the game, so here's some extra goals to go after.
Exactly.
And that's the first time that the trophy achievement things kind of clicked with me. I guess, in a lot of ways I have OCD leanings and am a little bit nutty, but not to the point to where I care about that number, that arbitrary score that,
Microsoft has assigned you, yeah.
Yeah, it seems so pointless. For the people that like it, that's fine. But to like it to the point to where you're going out and you're playing Hannah Montana Extreme whatever just so you can get a few easy achievements, no. I will not play a shitty game just to bolster a score.
Well, see, I almost find the more interesting argument is when you have people that have both systems, and where if one game, and now see, this is where I fall. If one game is marginally better on one system than the other, I get it for the system that it's better for.
Yeah.
Right? Even if it's not even really a feature I'll use, I'll still do it. But there's other people that, even when the discrepancy is huge, will still buy it for one because they're going to pad their score. And that, to me, is where I kind of draw the line. Well, I'm like, no, if it's a better experience, I'd rather have the better experience than a bigger number. So.
Well, I lean towards the PlayStation 3 because the 360 I have is a launch model that someone gave to me for free, and I managed to Frankenstein together with a broke one out of my girlfriend's parents' basement.
Nice.
So, the DVD drive on the one I got was faulty, so they shipped that to me, and I'm like, hey, Koresh, check your basement. Let me, if that's the same model 360, steal that shit for me, because I'm going to fucking gut it.
Yeah.
And, swapped out the DVD drive, and now I've got a fully functioning ticking time bomb waiting to red ring.
Nice.
So I lean towards the PlayStation 3, and I don't use any of the extra features on that 360. I don't watch movies on it because I expect, every minute could be
that it's just gonna die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for it because I got it for free, and it was manufactured in 2005 sometime. So it's it's old, and it's a miracle it's still kicking.
That is a miracle.
Despite having already performed massive surgery on it.
I think we have one Frankenbox sitting around from 360s that have gone down, and then I've had two go on me already. The first one that I bought, which was like 2016 model, and then actually, oddly enough, a Halo model went on me. I was pretty disappointed about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
that is a bummer to have a special edition shit out on you.
Yeah, you're just like, Microsoft, like, really?
It's so bad. I would say that's worse than the PSN outage. I remember, I think it was Kotaku, I saw something, they're like, which is worse, the Red Ring of Death or the PSN outage? The early model Xboxes were what, like $300 and $400? Having a $300-400 investment shit out on you is a hell of a lot worse than going 30 days without
online
gaming.
Yeah, exactly. Funny thing is that we started talking about the Saturn, and I'm going to bring the Saturn back into this. I guarantee that most people will still be playing the Saturn as a retro console instead of the 360. All of them are going to shit out on people, right? There will be no retro gaming 360s because all of the units will be dead.
Hopefully, the remodel. Hopefully, their little Microsoft engineers, cranked up the effort on making sure that thing will work. I haven't heard any reports of those dying on people, at least not anything out of the usual. But
That's true.
Every 360 owner has had at least 2 or 3 360s.
Yeah.
You find one that is running their launch model that hasn't been repaired or warranty serviced or something. I'm sure there's a handful of them out there, but it's nowhere as comparable to any other console in the history of ever.
Yeah, no, it's terrible. And the funny thing is that like PS1 and PS2 had their times with their like certain models were just terrible.
Every launch system has their batch of flops.
Yeah,
it happened with the Wii, and Nintendo consistently makes solid hardware, and it happened with the Wii. A bunch were dying after Smash Brothers Brawl came out, I believe, and it may have had something to do with the firmware update. It was something, but a bunch of Nintendo Wiis were susceptible to.
Yeah, they were.
I believe if you left the Wii Connect 24 on, that was what did it.
Oh, that thing was garbage. I hated that.
I played an online match of Brawl once, and that is the limit. That is the online experience I've had with the Wii. Whereas I played through Duke Nukem 3D co-op, played through the whole thing online with my Saturn, played the shit out of Saturn Bomberman, and you could compare it to Nintendo's online system in that you have to have a phone number, which instead of a friend code, you got to remember a phone number, which is only 10 digits instead of 16, so it wins.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's so sad that Nintendo's browsing or online experience has been so half-assed.
Oh, it really has been, and it kind of what it does is solidify that sort of kid moniker that
Yeah.
Nintendo systems get. And the other problem is that even with that Wii Connect 24, I remember when I first set up my Wii, and I had like a network that would tell me every time anything logged onto the network,
Mm-hmm.
and the Wii was just sitting there like I thought off, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it connected like something like 28 times over an hour, and I'm like, what is this console stealing information of? Right? Like, what is Nintendo spying on me for? Because it was ridiculous how much it would just connect to seemingly do nothing.
Well, you know, it's got to see if you got any messages. I wonder if it was sending any data or if it was just receiving. Because the way I thought it was supposed to work is, just, as soon as you get a message, it lets you know. But that does seem a little excessive, like maybe every 15 minutes, okay, that's fine. But, I don't know. It's good.
Sending Nintendo Play data. The Wii is not being played. The Wii is not being played. The Wii is not being played.
My favorite game for the Wii is Netflix. That is fucking AAA title on that platform.
It certainly is.
I have the PS3 and the 360, but I prefer using Netflix on the Wii because it gives it something to do.
Yes.
My one friend's like, yeah, but with the PS3 you could be displaying in high defs. Like almost everything on Netflix is 480p. And,
exactly.
I've got component cable, so it looks fucking identical. It don't matter. Mm-hmm. And I think the user interface for the Wii's Netflix it runs faster. Like, there's too much input lag on the PS3s.
Okay, yeah.
And I haven't used the 360s in a long-ass time, so I really can't say one way or the other. But like I said, that thing remains off unless I'm playing my handful of exclusive 360 games.
Exactly, yeah,
So...
Huh.
So a lot of people think I'm weird for using the Wii. I had this one listener to the podcast that only writes in when he has something to cry baby about.
Okay.
Yeah, he was like, "Oh, why do you use it on the Wii? It's blah definition, blah." It's like, because man, it's got to use it for something. Shit.
Yeah.
I sat out in front of a Target all night waiting to get one on lunch. I'm gonna use this motherfucker for something.
Exactly. Yeah, it means, the sad thing is that. Like, the best games on the Wii didn't sell, which always was troubling to me. I'd sit there in stores and sure, I'd be telling someone about Kirby's Epic Yarn.
Yeah.
If, like, an older person at all came into the Wii section, I was like, House of the Dead, Mad World, do it! Like, if someone just sort of picked it up, I was, like, over there at a shop being like, you need to play this game. You do.
Yeah, man. Those are games that I'm interested in, but I still haven't gotten around to getting them. And
what? You need to play these games.
Well, you say that now, and I was looking at them recently. I'm like, $10, man, I need to grab this. But some of them House of the Dead games are coming to the PS3.
That's true. That is true.
So,
in 3D. In 3D.
I'm a bit of a tightwad though. I quit buying brand new games, and
really.
Fuck brand new games. And here's why. If you wait 6 months to a year, and we're talking AAA big budget, popular games, you're going to get a greatest hits or platinum hits version. And that greatest hits or platinum hits version is going to be $30 new. It's going to have all the DLC. It's going to have all the bugs patched for half the fucking price. And then, fuck it. Wait a couple more months and get that shit for $10.
Okay, so wait, so you're not buying used games. You're just waiting.
Oh no, I'm saying if you wait even longer for those greatest hits versions, $20 is pretty much my, $20 and under. That's my comfort zone. I can piss away $20. And if you buy games used, yeah, man, like I waited a couple years to play Mass Effect. I got it for $10 with all the DLC on a disc.
Fair enough.
$10. Now, people that bought it on day one and got all the DLC, they paid fucking $90. So with that extra $80, that's 3, 4, 5 games potentially that I'm getting. I'm getting them later, but I'm getting 5 times as much shit for the same outputs. That's now my exception to this rule is of course Metal Gear. That is. That's my number one shit. I call off work. When I was still in school, I'd call off school. Metal Gear launch day is fucking video game day. And those I get usually with pre-order bonus or whatever dumb crap they're gouging me for.
Yeah. Well, see, that's funny because like I'm a little more systematic, especially Sega releases, I do reviews. I kind of need to be on top of those. But in terms of like other games that, if it's a super, like something like Crisis 2, I didn't buy that launch. I wouldn't, right? I was waiting for it to go down, and then when it got to a point where I was like, yeah, you know what, $30, I'll do it. Whereas something like, I think it's the El Shaddai Ascension of Metatron or whatever that weird ass game is. That to me is a day one game because I want them to make retarded shit like that.
Yeah.
Right? Shadows of the Damned. Yeah, that's a day one just because if I don't buy it day one, they're never making crap like this again. And
yeah, I understand that
so it's like
voting with your
strategic fun.
dollars, voting with
Exactly.
your dollars, so that companies know what to make and what not to make. But
exactly.
for the most part, man,
it's worth waiting.
what people pay for a game, I'm getting 3 or 4. So
Well, like I said, I've waited so long to pick up Assassin's Creed Brotherhood just because I was like, no way, Ubisoft, I know how you drop prices on games, and I'm waiting for this shit to be $20. And so so as soon as I saw it, so I'm one of those gamers though that I hate those like special boxes for platinum editions. So I wait till that price drop happens, and there's still both copies on the shelves.
I mean, they used to be limited. Now with Metal Gear Solid 3, I kick myself in the ass all the time over this. The limited edition of Metal Gear Solid 3, I picked that up. I didn't pre-order it. I just, the day of release went to GameStop, got it. It's $30,
Yeah.
And I saw this other one sitting on the shelf, and I'm like, I should probably pick that up and sell it sometime down the road. Nah, fuck it. It'd be better off in someone else's hands so they can enjoy it too.
Exactly.
A year or two later, $250.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know what it is now. The last time I looked, it was down to like, 200, maybe like 100, the high hundreds. But I was really shocked. And at the time, Metal Gear stuff some of it was hard to get, like Metal Gear Solid 2 Substance.
Yeah.
That was rare for years. Like buying it used, I managed to snag it for $20, and that was a deal. And it's usually like 30 or 40. That's way too much for a used game.
Yeah.
In my opinion. And now that there's like 15,000 versions of Metal Gear Solid 2 Substance, it ain't worth a dick.
Yeah.
I have to look this up and see if the Subsistence thing is still worth.
That is crazy.
anything.
I would have never guessed that.
See, buy it new, $189.95. The cheapest one used is $80 on Amazon. So keep that in mind.
Yeah.
But the one time I looked, and this was a couple years ago. This was before Metal Gear Solid 4 came out. So I mean, it's been a while. But $250, and I was like, oh fuck, I should have picked that second one up. Fuck the other local Metal Gear fan. That guy can go to hell. I want 250 wing wangs.
Well, I mean, who doesn't?
For a $220 profit on a $30 investment, that's not bad. But most of the time, you're right. You look at limited editions and pre-order bonuses, and they flooded the market.
Well,
now,
that's just it. They're not limited anymore, and that's the big problem.
So yeah, man, it is what it is, I suppose. I was looking at Ys 7 on the PSP, and it's like $50 for the limited edition, and I just kind of wanted it because it had a cloth map, and I think that's inherently cool.
Yeah.
And there's still a bunch of those. Yeah. There's still a bunch of those sitting around, so you can get that for like $30 now. So that's come down in price, and they're still, out there.
Is that eventually down the line, stuff like that, like weird RPG stuff and weird kind of tricky games like that, what they do is they come out, they drop, and then they slowly climb. Right?
Yeah.
Now then they'll be like, oh, what was this crazy game? How come there's no copies of it? Right?
That is weird, the life cycle and the prices where, they come out, they're the normal price, they fall down to dirt cheap, and then it gradually becomes rare as all these weirdos come out of their holes to snap up these obscure role-playing games.
Or that, and same thing with like any 2D game. Right? You look at 2D games on the Dreamcast. Like I kind of laugh at looking at all the Capcom stuff that was released. It all came out about like $29-$30, and people bought it or didn't buy it, and then you look at it now, and that same game is now $50-$80, and you're just like, because what's happened is no one really picked it up. They dropped, and then they just climbed back up.
The first example I can remember of that happening was the Xena Warrior Princess action figure. She was a character in that Hercules show, right? It's an action figure. No one gave a fuck. They're like, whatever, Xena, who cares? And then when she got her own show and got this huge following, that action figure all of a sudden was this rare, coveted item. And that's my first example of something coming out being a flop and then, eventually becoming a highly sought-after item. And that always comes to mind when I think of weird things like that.
Well, I just think of Snatcher, right? Like Sega CD. Everyone was like, meh.
Oh, man, the stories I've seen about that game.
It is a fantastic game.
I've got it. I've paid $90 for it about a year or two on eBay. And see, I have a complete North American Metal Gear collection, right? I've got every version of, like, if you go through Metal Gear Solid 2, I've got, like, 5 or 6 different versions. PC, PlayStation 2, Xbox, Substance versions, the comic book, the novelization. I got all that shit, right? So I justified that this is some of that justification that goes on in crazy people's heads that, there's a Metal Gear in Snatcher, so...
There is a Metal Gear in Snatcher.
It pretty much fits in the continuity, so, yeah, that I need it for my Metal Gear collection.
Yep.
So that's how I justified a $90 purchase on a 15-year-old used game.
Well, you know what? The worst thing about Snatcher is that I have that, Sega CD version. Mm-hmm. I love it to death, and I would instantly buy it again if they re-released it for something. Instantly. Just like that. If they... DS, 3DS, some other stupid...
I think most likely would be, like a PSN release would probably be the most...
It would make the most sense. Or, I mean, if they threw it in on that collection that's coming out. The Metal Gear one. Just kind of snuck it in on there. I would totally buy it just for that.
It's such a wonderful game. It really surprised me, and the quality of the voice acting is still like it's not top tier today, but it's still is better than a lot of games that come out today.
Oh, and it's light years beyond anything that was released at the time.
Oh, God, yes. It takes a fat dump all over anything that came out back then.
And
voice acting.
And just the fact that the phone numbers you can see in the background, if you call them, there's all these like hilarious moments.
Oh yeah, I found the sex line on my last playthrough.
Nice.
The odd little conversation that he has is pretty funny, and like, wow, man, in a game from like 1994 or 95. Wow.
Exactly. And I mean, there's a lot of things that are in Snatcher that then become a part of Metal Gear, just in terms of like, the whole phone call system is that codec system, right?
And the Metal Gear Mark II, Dr. Modnar Petrovich, whatever. See, that's part of the justification, that the doctor, massive spoilers, I guess, for anyone that hasn't played 15-year-old and 5-year-old games, the doctor that gave Raiden his artificial white blood. The artificial white blood is a running theme in Snatcher and Policenauts. That's the same doctor that made the Snatchers as the doctor that made Raiden into a cyborg in Metal Gear Solid 4. And that is like, this fits in the continuity, as well as anything post Metal Gear Solid 3 does.
Yeah.
Since they bent that timeline over a table and gave it what for. It fits just as much as anything else, so...
Actually, you just reminded me that I've been looking for a copy of Policenauts because I want to play the English patch.
Oh, I mean, if you want, I can file transfer it to you. I've got a patched copy of it on a hard drive.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Let me check, but I offered it to someone else, and I torrented it up a while ago, and I hold on to shit like that because you never know.
So I mean, you just gotta run it on an emulator off the computer and it works?
I burnt it and played it on my chipped PS1.
Ah, okay. Okay.
But I recommend you play it on a computer and use a mouse, because you can set the emulator to use a mouse, and that's probably the best way to do it. Unless you have a mod-shipped PS1 and have a PS1 mouse for it, in which case... Let's see. I got it somewhere.
Oh, cool. Just, send it over.
Yeah, I'll have to look for it when I'm not trying to keep the conversation moving, because
exactly, yeah.
reading and talking, two different thoughts is challenge.
Yes, always is. Always is.
Now, how do you feel about Sega from about 2001 to now? The evolution of going from their death to what we're seeing now. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I think it's pretty interesting because I was somehow lucky enough. I kind of got back into like during that early part where Sega was becoming a publisher and releasing a lot of crap. I was playing the Saturn. That was me rediscovering the Saturn, going out and getting all the Japanese games that I hadn't played, never got a chance to play, never came over in the West, and just giving those all a go. So I was spending time doing that, and then the only other game I was playing was pretty much Halo on Xbox. So I missed that early, like a good chunk of the early part of that stuff, and I sort of jumped back in around when Shinobi was being released and they were doing the arcade stuff again. And I've since then gone back and looked at a lot of their stuff, and it's been this crazy trip of like, wow, Sega published a Worms game and not a good Worms game, like, and it's been interesting that they had this like weird faltering, couple of years, but I think they've kind of reined it in, and they're really starting to pump out content that people should take notice of. I mean, when the last, the first two Sega games that pop off the top of my head from recent memory are Bayonetta and Vanquish. Again, both from the same developer, but those are great games.
Yeah, the past few years, Sega's been pumping out a lot of stuff that I'm interested in. Again, I haven't picked up Bayonetta yet, but it's down to the $10 range, so any day now I'll see it on Amazon. It's like, I fucking need it. Yeah. And but it's one of those ones that's on my radar. There's a lot of Sega games on my radar. The House of the Dead games on the Wii, those are things I've been, thinking about for a long time. And the Yakuza series, I just started Yakuza 2 this week.
Okay, yeah.
I've had that since, months after it came out, just sitting on a shelf. But I've got all this shit. When you're a bargain bin gamer, you amass a huge collection fast.
Exactly.
And so I've my backlog is retarded.
Well, the funny thing is I've played Yakuza 1, Yakuza 3, 4, and 2 is still shrink wrapped on my shelf, and I've been planning to play it, and I got that too. I saw it, and I was like, I think I was in some small town, and I hadn't seen a copy of this game anywhere, and I look in, and at the bottom row is Yakuza 2, and it was like, I don't know, $30. I was like, done, right? Like, just done. Yeah. I've never seen it anywhere else, and that's the exact same copy that I'm gonna play.
I absolutely loved Yakuza 1, and that's when I got my first fuck yeah, Sega's doing it again.
Exactly.
And that was a couple years ago, and I just hadn't gotten around to it. And I've been eyeballing Yakuza 3. It's getting so cheap, and I'm of the mindset that you play games in release order. I'm not going to skip around, because if I beat Metal Gear Solid 4 and then went back to 2, I would just throw my controller out the window, because even now when I go back to Metal Gear Solid 2, I try to control the camera.
Oh, yeah.
And it ain't happening, and it's frustrating.
Well,
so that's why I play them in order, to see the natural progression of things. Even if I'm coming to it years late, I still want to play it in order, just, plot reasons, gameplay reasons, and all that.
Well, it's funny though, because the funniest that just reminds me of one of the next Saturn reviews I'm gonna throw up, and I meant to throw this up before Duke Nukem Forever came out, was Duke Nukem on Saturn, right? And I'm playing this, and I had been playing it just prior on the Xbox 360.
Oh man, I bet you would love an analog stick or two.
Oh yeah, and I was just like, holy crap, this hasn't aged well. And it's not because the game doesn't look good. It's just simply because the controls are just,
well,
they're
the
of
first
the time.
The first time I played Duke 3D or any Duke Nukem game was in 2009 when I got into the Netlink, and Duke 3D is the cheapest Netlink game because every copy of it is Netlink compatible.
Yeah.
So in theory, if one of us were willing to make an international phone call on landlines, we could be playing that shit.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's inherently cool as fuck. But it was the first time I played any Duke Nukem game, and eventually I got used to it. But the way Duke kind of tilts when you're turning. Now, imagine playing that online. Your little Duke, he runs around lightning fast. It is so hard to get a bead on the other guy.
Yeah.
That our 2-player match, Duke match, was insane. Like, it was taking forever to kill each other. We first went into it with the monsters turned on, and that was a terrible mistake. Because there's all these pig cops and octobrands. Like, you can set the level of monster you want. Like, it could just be pig cops, or it could be full-out octobrands, or, like, those fat guys on the rocket sleds. This guy cranked the monsters all the way up to 11, and it was a nightmare, so we had to shut that shit down and go at it with just the two of us. But trying to get an aiming system working on that is a little bit of a nightmare. I would suggest, I haven't personally done this, I'd suggest using the Knights controller because it does have analog support.
It's
so that
a little
may
bit,
help.
It's a little bit better, and there is a code that you can use to use Turok style controls, but even that now feels archaic. And so it's funny, I don't know, I just kind of looking at that, and as a retro release that, what do I say to a collector that's looking at that one? And, the two features that stand out in the end of Duke, right? Especially when someone could go out, and if they just want to play this game and just to see it historically, well, I'm going to say, play it on the 360, right? Or play it on PC. But if there's two reasons to have that Saturn version, is one, it's Netlink, and two, Death Tank.
I've never actually played the Death Tank.
Oh, you got it.
I do know it's there.
Yeah, and the ridiculous thing is Death Tank on the Saturn is better than the remake they made on Xbox 360. And, I mean, it doesn't compare graphically, but Death Tank never needed to, right? It's just the humor and the wackiness that it needed, and when the opening song is something like Death Tank, right? And in the screen, it's unbelievable.
That's good. I'll have to fire it up. It's been a while since I've had Duke 3D out on the Saturn, because I did not long ago. All this talk of Duke Nukem Forever, it's like, screw it, I got some points on my Xbox, I'll pick up Duke 3D and go through it on that, because I didn't even want to fuck with it on the Saturn.
Yeah, fair enough. I understand completely.
Although I do like the game, and I recommend it if you're looking for something on the Saturn. It's not terrible, but man, dual analog sticks really are the way to go.
Exactly.
With gaming. And the past few years, it's really been hammered down that that's the way. There's nothing better that's come along yet than dual analogs.
No, it's true. It's very true. That either you play games that are motion controlled and you wish that they weren't. With the only exception, the only game that recently I've played where I'm like, okay, this alternative control method is solid, was Child of Eden.
I don't think I've ever played that.
It's new. It's a Kinect one. So
okay.
I
definitely haven't played that.
It's in the res style of gameplay. So essentially, you're hand waving to shoot, and it just works very, very well. We talked about it a lot in the last Shiro podcast. The other guy, we're both big fans of Q, simply because they go back to being the guys that made Sega Rally and of course all that Sega stuff, and so we've been kind of following them along, even though they're now being published by like Ubisoft and stuff like that.
Tell me a little bit about your podcast. Is that a monthly thing, or just like a when the fuck ever sort of thing?
Well, it was meant to be bi-weekly, but we've only done 10 episodes since it started. When one of your guys is in the UK and the other one is in the States and I'm in Canada, it's just kind of hard to get timing to work, especially when Nintendo wants me to work weekends. So it's it just sort of lately it's just been whenever we can get to it. And our podcast sessions are ridiculous. Like the show's only ever an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Our podcast recording sessions are like 3.
Well, the history of this show, the original style and format of the show is I do about half an hour of just this is what I've been playing, this is what I think about the stupid shit I've seen on the internet this week, and then I'd have a guest, and the guest segment would usually be the main component, and it would run from anywhere between an hour to 2 hours, and just depending on how well I get along with the guests, because sometimes, like, I haven't really had to look at my show notes, but I like to have something to fall back on, like, talking to you. The conversations flowed naturally. You're a talkative dude, you have fucking answers. Now, there's been episodes where I really just have to dangle that carrot in front of someone's face to get more than a few word response. I'm like, why did you even agree if you know you're a mute? Like, what is your fucking thinking, guy? Yeah. And so I've had those experiences, and it's kind of interesting from the hosting standpoint. It's like, oh man, and I need at least an hour out of this motherfucker. Shit. Exactly. So it's a challenge. Now, when I started doing the live show, well, actually, I'm going to take a step back. The goal was to be bi-weekly with the show originally. Mm-hmm. And I kept falling back on YouTube guests, which was really starting to piss me off, and it felt like, too small of a pond. I really wanted to expand.
Yeah.
And so that's why, you're mostly doing the Segashiro.com thing. You have the YouTube channel, but I'm focusing on the website because it's something besides motherfucking YouTube.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it's and then when we do the show, how much crap gets cut out of it, and we have all this stuff that's hilarious but has no context, right? Yeah. But then what I always wanted to do was make a very listenable podcast, something you could pop in. I like late night radio, and I like the bumper music, and I like all that stuff. So I wanted something that you could reasonably put in your car. Like, I make sure to balance everything so, like, the volume won't get out of whack and everything.
Yeah.
And so it's always an editing fiasco after. So, I mean, usually, the podcast record session could be anywhere to 3 to 4 hours, and then I go through that.
See, that's where you're making your mistake. I like to half-ass everything and hope for the best, and so far...
yeah, it's been working out.
On wood, it's been going.
But the thing is that I almost like to the way I like to do it is that if I ever go back and listen to one of the podcast episodes, because I mean I'm not sure about you, but after I've done one, and this could be because I do the editing on them, I absolutely hate them. Right, like I've heard my voice way too much. I've heard everyone's voice way too much.
I know that feeling of hearing your voice for 3 hours is a tad cumbersome.
Exactly, and it's even funny that I can see with some of the other guys. I know when they're being like I can see it in waveform, and I know what it looks like now.
Oh god, I recognize my uhs too.
Yeah, and so
it's really bad. You get used to seeing it, and
yeah, exactly. So, and I'll cut those out and stuff. So the cool thing is that when I listen to it like 6 months later, I'm like oddly impressed, right? Like it's like, oh my god, I can't believe we actually did this. And it could be because once the editing's all done, it didn't actually ever happen like that way. It's like a slice of history that existed but never existed quite like how it's been preserved.
I love when I get emails from people listening to old shows and they expect me to know what the hell I said a year ago.
Yeah, exactly.
That's one of my favorite parts. I have no idea what kind of foolishness came out of my mouth. I throw away so many comments that are nonsensical and not to be taken seriously, and people always see the weirdest things come through my inbox regarding the show.
There we go. That's awesome.
It's maddening. But originally, I kind of had a point that I remember now. When I started doing the show live, it became a consistent thing. And I'm trying to do that to build a bigger audience.
It helps. It definitely helps.
Thursdays, 10 p.m. our time. We're in the same time zone. Thursdays, 10 p.m. is when the show goes live, and then it just kind of runs however long. And I've been, hounding that into people's heads, and it's honestly helped. The show became stale after a while of like, oh man, I gotta find a guest, I gotta shoot off all these emails, gotta try to coordinate a time, and try to have a couple questions prepared just in case they suck at talking. So for a while I haven't had guests, and I'm kind of getting back into it, and I like the guest format because that's how I built an audience quick. Got a few big names off YouTube and got them on the show, and then it's like, hey, can you promote this? And then that's been my marketing strategy, just get other people with more internet following to do it for me.
Oh, it's always a good thing.
And so I'm trying to do that again and getting some more people on the podcast and whatnot.
Well, like I said, we would love to put the podcast on our site as well. Just have it up there. I told everyone on our last episode that I was doing it and that all my retardations would come out because I'm not editing it. So
editing, it's rough. Some of the comments that I've got are they like the different people on the show because it keeps it fresh, getting different opinions. And one of the best comments I got is that I do a good job of not having a lot of awkward pauses.
Yeah.
And it's trying to keep a conversation with a complete stranger. They may think that we're best friends and go back 200 years. I talked to you for about 30 seconds before I hit record. That's my level of, friendship with you. You're a guy I started talking to 30 seconds before they heard anything. And so it's a challenge. I've always been a quiet person, so it's weird for me to come out of my box and talk to strange internet guys about Sega.
Yeah, Sega stuff. But no, I should put this out there now. You're totally welcome to come on to our show and do one of our crazy podcast sessions.
I would appreciate that, and I was totally, after we're done recording, asked to do that, because the new marketing strategy, going back to having guests on the show is one thing, but I want to actively be guested on other shows. And I think it's kind of awkward to ask people, like, hey, can I be on your podcast? It just seems like, yeah, get away, weirdo,
Well, no, you're totally welcome. You're totally welcome to come on.
I understand that it's not weird, though. I've talked to a couple friends. Like, I got a professional reviewer friend. Like, his source of income is reviewing games. And he's like, oh, hell no, I do that all the time. I talk to people on Twitter, ask to be on this and that, and it's, you got to sell yourself hard. And the only person that ever asked me to be on the show is massively more internet famous than I am. Have you ever heard of the Cinema Snob by any chance?
Yeah. I haven't been, because I'm so ingrained in doing the website stuff. I don't.
Yeah. Oh, I understand.
A lot of internet stuff, but yeah, I've heard of him.
He's the only person that's asked to be on the show. And,
oh, cool. Yeah.
He makes a living doing internet guy stuff. That's the goal for all of us, I assume, is to be professional internet guys and to get paid screaming at microphones and typing about, Xboxes.
Yeah.
That's the most succinct way to put it.
Well, the funny thing is when I got the gig at Nintendo, I sent them a video of me talking to one of the guys from Sega about a DS game. And I wrote, well, I'm doing it for free anyways.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea to use some of your content. See, I hadn't even thought about that. That'd be a good way to try and get one of those rep jobs.
Yeah.
The
only problem is that then you got to hear about the corporate side of it all, and
I'm sure there's all sorts of meetings and pamphlets and.
Oh, actually, no. Like, it's been funny that I am not connected to them. It's gotten, actually, since the time that I actually got it, because I've had a bunch of them with them till now, that now has been the most connected, where, like, we have to text times that we're leaving to actually before we get to the jobs and stuff like that. But prior to that, it was, like, freewheeling. Like, you go, you set up.
Nice, man.
You send us, like, a report after, and it was fun times, and I guess they wanted trustworthy people because you don't want someone to say, yeah, I went and they didn't go.
Yeah.
Right? But
meanwhile, selling 1,000 stickers on eBay.
Exactly, yeah. So, it was interesting in that way that it was so kind of loose cannon, all my all my dealings with the highest ups at Nintendo was through the internet. Like, it was through email.
Yeah.
Right? And so that was kind of
interesting.
And, you know, all the packages just come to my door. Right? So I'm like, really, and it's funny because even at the interview was actually, I actually had to go and meet someone, so that was good. That, yeah, what they wanted, and they said was like, we don't have time to train anyone on this, so we've been actively looking for people that already know a ton about video games and a ton about this stuff and know how to talk to people about it, because we don't have time to train you. We're going to just start sending you packages and you're going to have to try them, do it. And so it was cool. It was really, really cool. And it's funny that the longer I've been with it, the way the programs change is that, you know, they're like, well, don't talk about any other system when you're out there. And I can see from a corporate sitting around your CEO table, that makes sense. But I guarantee you, the first question I ever got while I was in stores is, why should I buy this instead of the other one? And it's a terrible answer if you're like, well, I can't speak to the competition, but, you know, no one wants to hear that. Everyone wants to hear, well, I'm a hardcore gamer. I have all of them. Here's why I want this one. Here's where I want this one. And I kid you not, in stores the first Christmas, I got more Wii's moved when I basically said, well, the Blu-ray player is going to be for you. What are your kids going to play?
Yeah.
Right? And you'd have these dads scratch their heads, and I'm like, look at the games. Look at the ratings. Here's how the rating system works. You tell me. And they would go, and they'd be like, I'm like, PS3 is an amazing system for you. It's not so good for them. And, you know.
That is some good marketing, and it's also interesting that it comes down to the system for the kids.
Yeah, well, because, I mean, that's what they were there for. Right? And,
yeah, definitely. And,
Right? But meanwhile, if, you know, a guy who's, you know, a big gamer and was kind of like me comes in, and I'm like, well, you know, are you going to get them all eventually anyways? Because if you want the Nintendo one, it's because Mario's on it, and it's because Metroid's on it. So which one do you want right now, and what's in your budget? So it was kind of playing the audience to what it was, and some of the feedback I'd get was, oh my god, you're a guy that actually knows something about video games. Like, you're not some brunette with you know, boobs that wants to talk to me but has nothing to say. And so it was definitely interesting meeting core gamers that way. And there are some interesting ones. Like, I had one guy come in, and this was actually the last day I was out, and pull out a Japanese Famicom controller to see and to test me, to if I knew what it was. Right? Because if I didn't, then I shouldn't be a Nintendo employee, right? Like, there was all sorts of crazy things like that. And
wow, that you have to know that much history about Nintendo. That's because, I mean, not everyone's into foreign territory hardware, you know? I can see plenty of legitimate gamers.
Yeah.
Not knowing
but for him, it was like, does he even know what it is? Does he know that it's connected to Nintendo?
Yeah.
Right? And so I looked at him and I said, well, that's pretty cool. What I'm trying to do right now is connect Saturn Virtua Sticks to the Xbox 360. And he was just like, he kind of gives me this cock look like, huh, okay, yes, you're a gamer. And I'm like, yeah.
That's pretty hardcore. Oh man, I've only ever seen the twin sticks once, and I want to get it because I want to have that advantage for some goddamn Netlink virtual lawning, right?
Yeah.
And I had a buddy, one of my YouTube buddies. He's like real big into virtual lawn. Had him make a tutorial video and learn some advanced moves like I forget what it is, but it's some sort of canceling where it'll lock on, and then that's how you get around not having a second analog stick so you can aim. And I totally whooped up on everyone's ass at the SaturnLeague.com fucking Netlink community. And that's the only game I can hold my own on with these motherfuckers. It's Virtual On, because I had a buddy make me a little tutorial video on some advanced techniques. And I would love to try it with the twin sticks, but the only time I've ever seen any in real life was at an anime convention. He wanted like $80 for them. Get the fuck out of here with that.
Yeah. Well, see, my whole story is I actually contacted Hori of Japan to try to get those ridiculously priced 360 sticks.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I want them. I don't know why, but I want to play around this, $15 downloadable title with these sticks, and it was so hilarious talking to Hori of Japan and trying to get this to happen. It didn't. It couldn't happen. Even through like third parties trying to pick it up for me. And so then I settled on trying to figure out how to attach these Saturn sticks to the 360, and it's proving more fruitful. I'm almost there. We have all the parts. Apparently all you need to do is get anything attached to the PS2. So if I can get the Saturn to the PS2, I can get those controllers on anything. So we're just waiting on a couple of chips to come in, and I will be doing that up.
That sounds like a really intense project. Have you thought about documenting the process and throwing it on the website?
Well, right now, because we're just in the process of still getting the equipment in, like, there's a postal strike here, so everything.
Yeah, I heard about that. That's still going on.
I think it ended today.
Okay.
So hopefully these chips will come in, because I've been waiting a long time for them. But so I mean, once these chips are in, I think we're gonna document it from that point forward. Like, we already have everything. I mean, there's no point documenting us waiting for cords to come in the mail. But yeah,
we're 37, still no mail.
I hate this. Yeah. But there's a couple other things we're planning to do. We got an EPC, and we're gonna mod it into like a Master System case. Just because, and hopefully turning it into some sort of MAME console.
Just to one up all those dicks with their Nintendo PC case mods.
Yeah, pretty much, because we want our Sega fists in the air, and
that's intense, man.
I'm trying to get my buddy to do it, and I don't know why he doesn't think this would like explode on YouTube, but I want to get a Genesis, and he used to be really big into like RC cars.
Yeah.
Or even a Saturn, and I want to build a Saturn RC car, and like just drive it around, right? Like find some mall and just start having this little Saturn race around. He's like, nobody would watch that. I'm like, what are you talking about? Everyone.
Oh yeah, man, just submit that to Kotaku and you get like 100K views overnight.
Yeah, exactly. And so he's been a little bit. He's my computer tech guy who does a lot of the back end stuff on the site, and he's been hesitant, but I'm going to try to make that happen.
What you need to do is make it look as much like Metal Gear Mark II at the end of Snatcher. Of course, the Saturn version, of course.
Yeah.
Then drive that around.
Yeah.
No one would get it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I wonder if I could do it to a Sega CD and Genesis. That would be a little more expensive.
Well, I'm pretty sure every version of Snatcher, they use that console, and there is a Saturn version, so.
Yeah, that's true.
So, I mean, you could really go with any which way. PS1, just whatever's cheapest, and you got the most laying around that you're willing to gut.
Exactly, yeah.
Crash into things.
But, no, it's always fun. You were talking about Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing earlier, and I one day walked into a shop, and it was really nerdy. And I think I was underslept, because I don't think I would have done it otherwise. But they had two of those RC cars.
Yeah.
And I'm like, done! Right? And so we were going to do them for a review, and we're racing them around. And, like, the Knuckles one got attacked by a squirrel. Or at least scoped out by a... We got it on video. I don't know how we managed to get this, like, little piece of nature on video. And so then we raced the Sonic car towards Knuckles as in like an attempt to save him, and the squirrel totally freaked out. It's awesome. I can't wait to put that video up.
I guess that speaks to the lifelike nature of Knuckles being an echidna.
Exactly.
Other animals want to battle it, so that must be really close to what echidnas look like. Because I don't know what an echidna looks like.
I don't think I've ever seen one before.
Little red-haired Rasta animals.
Exactly.
That's all I know about them.
Damn, I kind of want to be a little red-haired Rasta animal. That'd be kind of cool. In another life, that's what I was, or will be.
God damn. I could see that being a really bad Ninja Turtles throwaway character. Towards the end when just every animal was a mutant to make a new action figure.
Exactly.
And so it's interesting to meet another Saturn enthusiast. That's usually not the most popular Sega console. It always comes down to the Dreamcast and the Genesis.
No, it definitely does. I mean, Genesis, I can understand why. It was a powerhouse, and a lot of people loved it, right?
I'm gonna throw this out here before we get started. I see this on Craigslist. People referring to the Sega. Got a Sega for sale. that just burns me up every time I see it. Got a Sega, because they're talking about a Genesis. They just have to be. It gets me going every time.
Yeah. And the DC, like, I loved my Dreamcast during that entire time that it was, like, out and popular. And even playing the games, like, retroactively, it's really good. But, I mean, there's something so weird. And maybe it's just because it was 2D games, but there's something just so special about the Saturn that that because it was so good at 2D stuff, and once you get into the Japanese stuff, it's all 2D. It's aged incredibly well.
Yeah, even with some of the 3D games, I think they've.
No, that's true.
Well.
And I mean, I think like even Virtua Fighter and a couple of the other games had like pretty high resolutions on some of the textures and graphics. Like, kind of the way I look at retro gaming, it's not so much does the game look good comparison to now. It's like, does the game look how you remember it? Right? Like, I just get
there's some things that it depends on the game a lot of the time, but early 3D gaming, specifically the 64 Saturn and Genesis, the 64 PlayStation and Saturn generation, a lot of those games look so fucking terrible. And like, I went to play Donkey Kong 64 for the first time, and that is just eye garbage.
Yeah.
And I hate it. Like, man, they went from Donkey Kong Country to this, and this is supposed to be a step up?
Yeah.
Woof.
Well, that's just it, though. But, I mean, I find that there's a lot of stuff on the Saturn, more so than PlayStation 1, and more so definitely than the N64, that they've managed to... the graphics managed to live longer. And I mean, at the time, if you looked at what people would say about the Saturn, they're like, these graphics look no better than 16-bit graphics. But 16-bit graphics still look fantastic. Right?
Yeah,
so the Saturn, in turn, has kind of aged admirably in that way. When you play a really 3D game on the Saturn, it looks like trash. But
I actually had to quit playing Tomb Raider because it looked so bad. And this is the only time... I'm not a graphics person, like graphics make or break a game at all. But I was stuck on like level 2 or 3. There was a switch you had to flip, and it was so muddy and pixelated that when I looked up on a tutorial on YouTube, I'm like, what? Those are switches? It was just like splashy blobs. So I'm like, I'm done. If I can't even tell what things are supposed to be, I'm done.
Yeah, so I mean, so that's why I go back. That if I had played Tomb Raider back in the time, I probably would have been like, oh yeah, this looks pretty good. And then in my head, I would have cleaned up so much of it, right? And then going back. So it's kind of neat revisiting a lot of these titles that I've played before, because if they're as good as I remember them, or if they look the same as I remember them, then that's a success.
Yeah.
Whereas if they look like muddy trash, then they haven't aged well. And I'm just shocked with the amount of Saturn stuff that manages to look as I remember it. Like, even like something like Panzer Dragoon. You look at it, and it by no means is a beautiful game, but the art style is intact.
Yeah, I just I put up an hour-long special about the Panzer Dragoon series a couple weeks ago, maybe a month or so. And it's definitely the art style that sells it. Because the first one, it is a little muddy and rough around the edges looking at it, but it was a launch title.
Yeah.
And it's definitely gorgeous in it's own way. Like the 3D cutscenes are so bad.
Yeah, the 3D cutscenes, but like when you play it's, I don't know, I still get sucked into that world, right? Like something between the music and, even though the textures are not made, but like everything is so unique into its own graphical style that I immediately know I'm playing a Panzer Dragoon. And
well, the thing about the Panzer Dragoon series is all the games manage to suck you into that world and the history and the Panzerese language that they invented for it. There's just so many things that draw you into that world and that universe. And how many rail shooters can you think of have you given a shit about the world as a whole?
No, that's true. That's true, and there's not many.
I mean, do you really give a shit about Star Fox like that?
No. Well, I mean, when you think about it, that the only thing anyone ever remembers of Star Fox is
Do a barrel.
do it. Yeah, do a barrel roll.
Woof. Have you ever seen the Panzer Dragoon cartoon?
I want to. I haven't though.
I've got it on VHS.
Nice.
The Panzer Dragoon special I put together. Like, I've got this public access show. I'm working on finishing the entire season, then I'm going to actually start airing it here locally.
Yeah.
But so I've got this hour-long Panzer Dragoon special, and it covers every Panzer Dragoon everything except for the R-Zone game, which the R-Zone is a Tiger Electronics headset. Yeah.
Yeah, you know.
I'm not dropping the $150 it would cost for me to get an R-Zone and that game just to have a, 3-minute spot of this sucks.
Well, I mean, isn't it like just red and black?
I believe I don't even know. There's two versions. There's the one you wear on your head.
Yeah.
And I think that's just an LCD screen with red, and then you see whatever's in front of you. I think I really don't know. And it's, I guess, kind of Virtual Boyish with its red and black nightmare.
Yeah, I don't even think that one counts.
So I don't talk about that, and I had to emulate Panzer Dragoon Mini for the Game Gear because that's a rare Japanese game. I asked my buddy in Japan if he's ever even seen it. I think I saw it once for about $100, and
wow,
not biting, not for a fucking Game Gear game.
I hope they release that on 3DS, but they probably won't.
Oh, definitely not.
Yeah.
A Japanese only thing that was that niche that ain't happening. But I've tried 2 ROMs, and I recorded some gameplay anyway, but it was so flickery that you couldn't see what was going on. And I was getting ready to stop and be like, well, I've had enough. And I set my controller down. I was like, I'm going to see how long it takes for me to die. And then I, for the first time, got to the boss level.
Yeah.
And the flickering problem went away. And it's all of a sudden became a good game. And this happened, the exact same problem, on 2 different ROMs. So I don't know if it's just a bad ROM dump that has been copied and passed around, or if this is an inherent flaw in the game. I would really love to get a physical copy and find out, but $100 for that? Hell no.
Yeah.
That's way too rich for my blood.
I guess I didn't even realize that they never released that outside of Japan. I've only ever seen screenshots of it.
Yeah. Once I got to the boss level, it was a great game. That 30 seconds of gameplay was top notch, and I would have a great time with it on a Game Gear. But the main level, where it's kind of like Space Harrier.
Yeah.
But it's just so flickery that you can't control what's going on. There's no option to invert the aiming, and so that kind of gave me troubles. Up is up, and I hate that in a flying game. And so, I mean, it had its issues, but I talk about it, and it's a thing. I don't know. It exists. That's my comment. It exists. It has its issues.
The Game Gear was such a weird system.
Man, if the screen quality was there, it would be worth it.
It would have been. Yeah, it would. No, it's almost funny though that they could do they did the adapters for playing Master System games on the. I almost wish they did one the other way around.
I hear it can't do that because the Game Gear has just slightly got the technological edge and outputs more color.
Yeah.
Has a bigger color palette, and that's the reason why they can do that. But yeah, something like the Super Game Boy, but with the either on the Genesis or the Master System itself. On the Genesis would be the logical choice because that's exactly. They came out at the same time. But that would have been cool. And the only game I've played on Game Gear that's really good is Vampire: Master of Darkness. And,
I've never even heard of that one.
It's a Castlevania clone, and it's really good. And I'm having a great time. I've sunk hours into it on the Game Gear. and
Nice.
it controls slow enough to where you can see it on that abysmal screen.
Oh, okay, yeah. Because I just remember fond memories of like Streets of Rage and some of the Shinobis, and
But
I just remember never being able to get too far in Sonic just because the screen would scroll so slowly.
yeah, I've got a buddy looking for the Master System version of that vampire game, and I think it only came out in PAL territories, and he's off in Australia, where the Master System was popular. So I've got him looking for it, but it's another rare game that if he
Yeah.
does find it, it'll probably be priced accordingly and never end up in my collection. But I'd love to have that on something I can view on my TV and see what the hell's going on a little bit better. But for a Game Gear game, I'd recommend it.
Nice. Well, funny enough, the last Master System things I picked up were actually the 3D glasses for the Master System.
Oh, see, I've got the unit that plugs into the Master System, but not the actual glasses.
Okay, yeah.
Well, when I got my Master System on eBay, it was like $40, came with a handful of games, most of them doo-doo, and then it had the little 3D adapter that plugs into the card slot. So
Yeah.
I'm halfway there.
And it's crazy. If you need to hook it up to an older TV,
Yeah.
like an older CRT to get it to work, because it actually uses the interlace aspect of the
Okay.
TV to get its 3D effect, and it's pretty damn impressive. It's very flickery, but it's so flickery and slow that it doesn't bother my eyes, unlike the high-speed ones of today. But and I mean, I think I played Outrun and Space Harrier, and I was really impressed. I was like, I can't believe, this 8-bit system is doing this.
Sega, man, they have so many great ideas that just people didn't pick up on how fucking great they were.
Well, that is the ultimate problem, and the trick between and working for Nintendo and seeing the way they do things, and it's almost the opposite at Sega, where Sega almost kind of did things in a way that, like, we're gonna do this because we can, right? It's not necessarily the best thing to do, nor is it the smart thing we're gonna do, but we're gonna do it because we can. Whereas Nintendo has this real idea of, we're gonna wait till it's price efficient. We're gonna wait till we can control it, and
Well,
that to me is like I
honestly,
want Sega.
I think what's carrying Nintendo through is their first party titles, and that's really it, because they've made so many baffling decisions since about 1996, when the starting with the Virtual Boy and N64, nothing but head scratchers, and I think the thing that's pulling them through is, they've got Mario and Sonic, so you're going to get that shit anyway. And it's just, they haven't made a good controller since the Super Nintendo.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I think the trick is that the DS is what pulled them through.
Yeah, having, a stranglehold on the handheld market has definitely been a good thing for them.
Yes. So,
And
I mean, and at one point it was 80%.
I think if it wasn't for the PSP, I think Nintendo would have held off on the DS for a lot longer. Look how long they rode the Game Boy train. They rode that thing for 8 years. The only upgrade we got was the Game Boy Color, which was a little bit stronger hardware, just a little bit, and 56 colors on a non-backlit screen.
Yeah, exactly.
And, they rode that train for a little bit longer, and then the Game Boy Advance, I think they really would have pushed that for a lot longer if it wasn't for Sony entering the market with the PlayStation Portable.
Yeah, no, it's very well. I mean, competition does drive things forward, but I almost think of Sega as sometimes recklessly innovating, and as I get older as a gamer, I appreciate that more.
I think the best word to describe Sega is quirky. If you want quirky games, Sega consoles are the consoles for you. 'Cause you get so many weird little things that come out only on those Sega classic consoles, and I appreciate that. Like games like Three Dirty Dwarfs on the Saturn. That's probably my favorite Saturn game.
Oh, nice.
And
nice.
no one ever really talks about it, but I absolutely adore it.
It's a fantastic, and it's great looking still.
And look how weird it is. One of the
Yeah.
bosses is a gym. You have to
Yeah.
fight. You have to fight a health club that's jumping around and barbells at you. The
man.
story is a game of Dungeons and Dragons brings monsters from a parallel universe because smart kids are throwing the dice.
Yeah.
What? That's a thing that makes sense on a Sega system. That's just a good old-fashioned plot.
Exactly. And and there's one thing I've been telling. I meet a lot of younger gamers, obviously doing the job I do, and some of them you can already see are kind of getting to the point where they're definitely in this. They want to go retro. They want to try out everything, and I tell them, I'm like, yes, okay, having that NES is good. Having that Super NES is great. N64. I personally think the N64 is garbage, but whatever. It's a lot of them. They started on that system.
It's got a handful of games, but
Oh no, definitely.
I'm gonna link you to an article about controllers that are worse than the Atari Jaguar's controller, and the number one spot is the N64 controller. That's the only controller I've known that the company has had to ship you protective gloves because it is literally damaging to human hands.
Yeah. But always down the line, at some point, I say, you know what? You're gonna have to pick up a Sega console at some point, and you're gonna have to try it. And they always scratch their head at that, and I'm like, you are missing out on so much gaming if you don't, and so much gaming heritage if you don't do it. So.
Yeah, it's. Oh man, my train of thought railed. My girlfriend's texting me, and she's got issues. So, no. When people ask me what systems do they recommend, or do I recommend for people to get into retro gaming, I recommend the Genesis or the Dreamcast because they're abundant and they're not as overpriced as, say, a Nintendo or Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
But the gaming experiences are just as good in most areas and superior in others. Games like Landstalker.
Yeah.
That's one of the more expensive titles, and you're looking at like $10.
Exactly.
You know, that's one of the higher quality titles. I think that gives A Link to the Past a run for its money. The writing is top notch. The translation in that thing is fucking wonderful, and the gameplay is so damn good. And you can get that game complete for like $10-11. An expensive rare Genesis game's like $30.
No, it's true. It's very, very true.
Like the Phantasy Star games, I managed to luck out, and I've told this story on the show before. I got Phantasy Stars 2, 3, and 4, complete maps, manuals, cases, pristine condition, $3 a piece at a garage sale.
What?
Yeah, I love bragging about it too.
Yeah, of course,
because if I bought those online, that would have been $90 for the same condition.
Yeah,
and,
if you could find it in that condition.
Yeah, and I mean they are immaculate. This guy took care of his games, and
then sold
luckily he was at work and his girlfriend was in charge of the garage sale. He was trying to sell them as a bundle. He was trying like, here's a box of Genesis shit. I want this much. And I'm like, how much do you want for the individual games? So she calls her boyfriend or whoever, I assume boyfriend or husband, and it's like $3 for cartridge games, $5 for CD case games, and $5 for DVD case games. So I picked up Tales of Symphonia for $5, sold that for $20, and made back all the money that I spent on the other games. I also got Contra Hardcore for $3.
Oh, nice.
And again, complete in the cardboard box, perfect condition. And so it was the only time I've made a good find at a garage sale. Only time.
Yeah, the only time, yeah.
But the Phantasy Star games are some of the more expensive, highly sought after games for the Genesis, and you're looking at $30. Whereas an expensive, highly sought after Super Nintendo game, you're looking at like what's that game? Mother.
Earthbound.
Yeah.
Oh, Earth,
Thank
yeah,
you.
yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say I could only think of the Japanese name.
It's like $80, $90,
yeah,
right?
$80 or $90 loose.
Yeah.
And let alone with the giant box that it came in, which shoots that price up. So I always recommend for people getting into retro gaming, Sega Genesis or Dreamcast great way to go because the games are cheap, and but the quality of the titles is there. And
Exactly.
one day on Craigslist, I got 3 Sega Genesis, 30 games for $30, and the only thing I was after was Gunstar Heroes, which
Yeah.
goes for $30 online.
Yeah.
So basically, after I started selling some of that shit off, I made like, $60 to get a complete copy of Gunstar Heroes.
There we go. Not way to do it.
Craigslist is a great thing. It's starting to get pretty bad here. I think what's the Canadian equivalent? Kijiji?
We have Kijiji, but we also have Craigslist.
Okay, you do. Last I heard, it's been a couple years that none of my Canadian internet buddies really knew what the hell Craigslist was, and they used Kijiji.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm like whatever the hell that is. It sounds unpleasant. I don't want a case of the Kijijis.
Yeah, can't say that sounds too healthy.
But
it kind of sounds like fun too.
Picked up a wicked case of Kijijis when I was in Tijuana.
Yeah. She's like, man, you're doing some real spectacular shit.
Yeah, so, but, anymore, Craigslist is getting worse, and now you just don't find the deals like that anymore. So, now everybody's aware of it.
Yeah, that's always the problem, right?
Man, because I used to pick up so much stuff for so cheap. Like I said, I'm a tightwad, and if I can find a deal, I will. And Craigslist used to be a gold mine, but now everybody's asking way too much. Like, I've seen so many people throwing Atari 2600s up there and asking like hundreds of dollars. Like, dude, I'll give you $20 for that.
Yeah.
It's freaking Atari. Come on, what are you thinking? Unless it comes with a beautiful Russian bride, no thanks.
No, thank you. Yeah. But it's got wood paneling.
It's a classic, which means it's expensive.
Yeah.
No thanks. And I used to see a lot of good Sega stuff on Craigslist, but now it's all just, get a classic Sega system, whatever that might be.
means, yeah. Well, that's the always trick is that I always find that there's like pockets of places that actually have Sega stuff. Talking to a bunch of the used game sellers around in the area, they would say things like certain stores just wouldn't be able to sell Sega stuff.
Yeah.
That they'd have a huge Nintendo audience, but they wouldn't sell it. So this one guy, he was like, and I mean, it's a 45-minute drive for me, but we make the drive out there all the time. Great game store. But he would say to me that he'd get other guys saying like, "What am I doing with the Sega stuff?" And he'd be like, "Send it, because I will move it and I will keep it because he had the space for it." But it was shocking to me to think that like there were places where there are these pockets of tons of Sega games.
I can relate.
Yeah.
In my day of Craigslisting, like I said, 3 Sega Genesis, 30 complete games, spent $30.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. You couldn't make a Nintendo haul like that on any given day.
Yeah.
And just my theory is the Sega stuff doesn't move here. I also got like a complete what's the Master System converter for the power base converter?
Yeah.
I got a boxed one for like $5.
Wow.
And I also spent $15 total. The thing I was going for was a PS1 with the LCD screen. And so I got that for 10, and when I get there, he's like, "I'll throw this in for another $5." It's like, whoa, sweet. I want. Give me. That was a great find. And so, I mean, all those great adventures in Craigslisting, and now it's all just crap. We'll fix your 360. Warning, don't go to that guy. He's a ripoff. Like, that's all my Craigslist is anymore. And it's a bummer.
Well, I mean, the last thing I heard about Craigslist was in Canada they were cleaning all the prostitutes off of it. Apparently it was a big problem.
It's a great website if you need a hand job and help moving a couch in a Sega. Like it's the only website I can think of where you can get all those services and products. Let's see if I got any more questions left, and it doesn't look like it. So, thanks for being on the show, man. It's been a lot of fun talking to you.
That's been excellent. Glad to be here, and like I said, you're always welcome over on Sega Shiro.
I will harass the shit out of you until that happens.
Okay, sounds good.
Or at least, like, maybe send an email or two, because that's the maximum effort I'm putting out.
Well, if that's 11, then we're good.
Yeah, that's. Whew, I'll be lucky if I get out 2 emails. Like, hey, when's the show, derpy derp?
All right, well, take it easy.
All right, and we're back. God damn, that was a long-ass interview, but we've been having a good time dicking around. There's still a couple of people in the chat room that made it out for the live shiz. So, yeah, man, let's go ahead and bang out some emails.
We're gonna bang some emails.
Bang them out and get this shit done. Take a fucking nap, play some Morrowind. Predator mode. Fucking beastly.
So you figured out a way to play Morrowind while you nap? I've come pretty close. I have a TV with a bunch of systems hooked up to it right next to my bed, so I can be almost napping, but not quite.
Well, the other new game that I got in the mail today is I finally got that Sega iToy game for the PS2, so like prices bumped way down. It's like $1 something. And so I'm going to maybe flap around and play some Nights into Dreams, fucking iToy edition. That's how you control it. You put your arms out like you're an airplane and you like tilt and shit. And
that sounds like not fun.
It sounds like a lot of fucking fun. You must be a close prick.
I'm a stick in the mud when it comes to that kind of stuff. Like,
you must be a child molester.
That's weird to hear that coming from you. As much as you're against like the Kinect and things like that.
I'm not against it. I just don't think it's going to replace a controller. I don't think it's a good thing. I got my iToy for like less than $10. I got this game for $1. I got the iToy so I could play this Knights game because I thought it looked kind of cool. Also, the Puyo Pop game where you use your arms to guide the slime jellies into the right area. They like fall down and you got to roll them into. Like, it looks like a lot of fucking fun for like a total of $11, $12 investment. I'll fuck with it. And I'll have some fun. Now, am I going to go out and pay $150 for a Kinect? You can go fuck yourself.
No.
Go fuck right the fuck off. For like $10, $15, yeah, I'll dick around with a little camera gaming. My nephews had one, an iToy when it was new, and I was over there babysitting once, and I was fucking around with it, and it was, it was kind of cool, but not enough to buy one new back then. Grab one used for a couple bucks. Yeah, shit, why not? Also, it makes a decent webcam. You can download some.
You gotta let me know if it's better than not better. Obviously, it's gonna be better, but you gotta let me know if it's more fun than a Game Boy camera.
Probably. There's not a lot you can do with a Game Boy camera.
Well, if you get a capture card, you can turn the pictures.
Yeah, I can use my. You could use it as a webcam. I can stream that live with my Super Game Boy.
I saw you rig that up. I think that's pretty cool. I haven't quite gotten that figured out yet.
Do you have a capture card? Yeah, you do. We've got the same cheap ass capture card.
I could probably do it. Yeah. But are you using you just using the plain old Super Game Boy, or are you using that like the second one with the link cable?
They both do exactly the same thing. It doesn't make a difference which you use.
Okay, good.
The Game Boy camera is a Game Boy game, so there's like nothing special about it at all. Anyway, we got 2 emails. Already sort of made reference to one, and I'll read that one through anyway, even though it's probably going to be fruitless in the long run. But Clown STDs Killed My Mother writes in. Thank you for having a complete sentence as a username.
Yeah, Shintai.
They have 2 questions. The first, out of all video game locations out there, which one do you think will be the best to have a vacation at? I haven't really put a lot of thought into it, so I really don't have an answer. I want to have something clever and witty and brilliant, but I don't.
2 games come to mind. Dead or Alive Extreme Beach Volleyball is one. That's the obvious choice. And didn't Super Mario Sunshine take place on a resort kind of thing?
Yeah, that's a good answer, that first one. I was thinking Donkey Kong Country, that island looks like a pretty sweet place. Jump on some old dirty tires that washed up on the beach, battle some vultures.
A specific line from Gummo comes to mind.
You have quotes from Gummo? Or are you just talking about the one I told you about?
Yeah, that one you told me about.
Smells like a wetback's dick. There's this town, and it's like my mom actually happens to work in this town. I keep telling her to ask her buddy that lives there about Gummo because it pisses off every single person from Xenia. And there's this movie director, Harmony Korine, and he's like fucked up on drugs. Like, he's a fucked up guy. And he's particularly famous-ish for a movie called Kids. And then after Kids, he made this brilliant movie called Gummo. And Gummo takes place in Xenia, Ohio, where back in the mid to late 70s, there's a tornado, tore that town apart. Every 20 years, like, that town gets its ass handed to it by a tornado. And it's like, you know, there's a fucking pattern emerging here. Move somewhere else. Because this place is prone to tornadoes. I heard some BS about it, why there is. Like, there's some underground water currents that cause some science shit to happen, and molecules are all up in this bitch.
Good science shit.
Tornadoes.
Goddamn, it's science.
Yeah. So that's the basic get down of this movie. It starts out with, in 1977, a tornado fucked this town up. It's been shitty ever since. And you can tell the movie wasn't filmed in Ohio, and you can tell none of the people are from Ohio because they have southern accents. And this part of Ohio is flat because what they tell us in school times is glacier flattened everything else. That's why we don't have a lot of hills and shit. And looking in the background scenery of Gummo, you can see foothills of mountains and shit because it was filmed in Tennessee, and that's why they all sound like backwater hicks. And that's why it amuses me. And it smells like a wetback's dick.
I love how you went through that whole routine just so you could say it smells like a wetback's dick and not
one
have
or
like
two more times.
Not have somebody stab you.
That's why I like saying it. Like, that's why I find it funny. It's the way the accent, like, it's just not how it is. Like,
I think it's funny because it's like coming from like a 10-year-old in the movie. It's like a little kid saying this.
And he's saying it to the kid with the rabbit ears and tidy whities rolling around the mud in a junkyard. The entire movie is like that. Like, there's a couple of groups of characters that you follow around. There's this one kid that looks like, you know, the banjo-playing kid in Deliverance. He looks like that. It kind of looks like a possum. And he's one of the main kids. And him and his buddy...
Him and his buddy... eating the spaghetti in the bathtub towards the end of the movie?
I believe so. Him and his friend take dead cats and sell it to the Chinese restaurant. And then this other kid starts moving in on their business. So they got to deal with him. And then later in the movie, they go and they fuck this girl. Some dude's like pimping out his retarded sister. There's these two girls that are real trashy. Like, these just two trashy 14-year-old girls that are out fucking everyone. And then you got the kid with the rabbit ears that doesn't like have a line in the entire movie. And these two boys with like cowboy hats and guns start shooting them. Looks like a queer rabbit. I don't like no queer rabbits. And it's just scene after scene of just incoherent shit. And about 5 to 10 times throughout the movie, they make sure to say, in Xenia, Ohio. Which I don't know where you're from, if you always make sure to include what state you're in. You know, I don't, you know, if I'm talking to someone, I'm like, yeah, they live over in Inglewood. I'm not going to be like, they live in Inglewood, Ohio. Well, no shit, because we're in Ohio and we're talking about places around here. You know, I've never referred to my own town as, well, I live in this town, Ohio. It's just really weird that they hammer home that message that it's Xenia, Ohio, despite being in the foothills of Tennessee.
So, how does this relate to the original question?
Critical Failure brought up a line about, he said something about Gummo. You asked what Gummo is, and Gummo's just kind of a rambling on movie that just, it has some scenes, and it takes place in Xenia, Ohio. So if you run into anyone from Xenia, just call them Gummo, and they'll get pissy. Like, shut up, Gummo. And then they get real butthurt because you're calling them, like, the scourge of the earth, white trash. And, yeah, so I don't know where I would vacation at in video game land. I like your extreme beach volleyball answer. That's a pretty good one. I can't think of anything clever, man. So,
well, me personally, there was this one game I played. It's called Tsukihime. And, yeah, I know, weird Japanese name, fuck off.
I want to go to Hyper Tokyo, where they have hyper hentai hookers.
No, but the thing is, the main character...
Let's dig in and get ready for this justification of tentacle hooker parlors. All right, I'm ready. Lay it on me.
Christ.
The main character has to move out of his regular home, and he lives in this mansion afterwards. And I wouldn't mind living at that mansion because he has a hot-ass sister, and he's got 2 hot-ass maids, and he's living in a freaking mansion. I wouldn't mind, vacationing there or something. I mean, I'd rather live there, actually, but, seems pretty sweet to me.
Rockin'.
I honestly still have no answer. I'll get back to you next week if I come up with anything good. But I'm looking at all
we
my
were
games
talking
on...
about this for like an hour. Oh no, come on, we gotta go to the answer the questions. I got nothing.
Yeah, whatever. I'm looking at all these hundreds of games in my room, and I can't think of one place.
You couldn't point to one and just say, I want to go to there.
No, I really couldn't. Because all video games have conflict, so
like
all these
Unreal
worlds
Tournament.
are fucked up. It's like, okay, let's go to Panzer Dragoon World. Oh, wait, the world's been crushed by Apocalypse. Okay, let's go Knights of Old Republic World. Oh, wait, Jedi crushed the entire fucking Empire.
Just do something.
I thought it was the Sith, not the Jedi.
Yeah, you're right. Look at the fucking...
You got it wrong.
IR no good talk. The Warriors. Obviously, I'm looking at my stack of Xbox games. Oh yeah, do I want to be in the middle of a gang fight? No, not really. Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. I won't last 5 fucking seconds because I'll get jacked.
Here's another good one. Destruction Derby 2. Drive a car that just shoots straight the fuck up in the air.
So, just looking around at all my shit, I can't think of anything particularly good. Anyway, second question from Clown STD's Killed My Mother. If you could date rape a Pokemon, which one would it be? And the obvious answer is Ditto. You could make it battle any chick you want, any chick, and then, have your loyal Pokemon partner that, submits to all 4 of your commands. Unflinchingly, assuming you have the appropriate level badge.
That reminds me. I think I remember seeing like a 4chan picture or something.
Yes, I was getting ready to say I wish I could find it because the 4 attacks they use are perfect.
Yeah, it's like sleep, pound, or something like that. It was really
Nice.
Then the caption is the ultimate date rapist.
I like the one where it shows Bulbasaur and he's like, "Let's use Leech Seed," and then it shows Bulbasaur again, like doing torrents.
Yeah. Man, there's so many good Pokemon pictures. I love the Pokemon threads. I'm gonna try to find that picture. Which Pokemon would you guys use? Are you gonna use the same logic or?
Pokemon are kind of like animals. So I don't know about date raping an animal. But
humans are kind of like animals, and that we're all biological organisms.
Well,
Yeah,
plus, it would be an exact duplicate clone because it clones them.
I had thought of the same thing without you telling me.
Yeah.
So I guess I can just default out to the ditto. I guess.
I mean, there's really no.
I mean, because I don't want to screw a goat or an electric mouse or something.
Exactly. There's no other choice.
My dick and a
it
penguin.
boils down to.
Oh, here's a good one. Tentacruel.
that's Retro's favorite.
Yes.
I found that picture. Smurgle, the perfect date rapist. His 4 moves: charm, sleep powder, harden, pound. So it's pretty good. Whoever put that together, the fucking genius. I mean, there's no other choice. There's some of the weird Pokemon that kind of look like people, but that's pretty disgusting and horrifying.
Yeah.
Let's see. I guess the correct answer is Dick's Oak. The only other email we got in was from Balzac. Hello, Jerry. I'm typing this comment to notify you and your listeners of Operation Rainfall. It is a group that is trying to demand Nintendo of America to release Xenoblade Pandora's Tower and The Last Story to America before the Nintendo Wii dies out next year in favor of the Wii U. Now, I wanted to spread the word of this group to as many people as I can, and what better way to do that than on the Mondo Coolcast. Please help support the cause by going to their official website to print and mail out their already made-up letter to ship to Nintendo of America so that Reggie will know how much people want these games and come out in America. Here's a link to the website. I'll put it in the show notes. It's oprainfall.blogspot.com. Please show your support by mailing these letters on the specific date to Nintendo of America so that the Nintendo Wii can go off with a bang in America with these 3 amazing games instead of just another Zelda game. And we covered this in the beginning of the show. Nintendo knows we want it, and they're not saying one way or the other in PR speak.
They're being
It won't hurt to write the letter. It may help. In the long run, it may help. So, I will have a link to that. It is a worthy cause if you would like to see some games get released on the Nintendo Wii for a nice, refreshing change of pace.
Yeah, for real.
Some fucking games that aren't Baby Party 12 and fucking Cooking Mama 19.
You don't want to play Sushi Go Round? I wish I made that up. It's a real game.
That reminds me of this funny video my friend made. He was like, man, I've been playing games like Mad World and Darksiders and Fist in the North Star, but I need something more manly, so I ordered a new game. And you see him rip open this package, Cookie Mama.
There's a 4chan picture that I saw, and it shows a woman with her, making a pitch to a game company, and it's like, I forget what jobs it was, but it's
I've
like, legal aid mama, fucking, business executive mama, and then the next panel is her with a black eye and a copy of Cooking Mama. Gave me the lulz.
Boy.
But, yeah, so the letter writing campaign, worthy cause. I'll throw a link to it in the show notes.
Is that the thing you were talking about earlier in the show? How Nintendo was like, "Screw you guys."
They know we want it, but they're not confirming or denying that it'll happen in America. It's elusive PR speak. If they do come out with it later, that's fine, but they're not promising it right now. So it may already be planned to bringing those games, but they can't say at this time.
There was that. One of those WarioWare games where you can make your own little mini game. People were I think it was a similar time. People were pissed about something that Nintendo wasn't bringing over. So I think it's like Sony or something like that made a WarioWare game and released it or something. And it was basically like you were supposed to cancel the release of all these games like Fatal Frame 4 and something like that. And you would have to press release for games like Poopy Party 3 and stuff.
What?
Yes, good stuff.
I
think we need more specific details.
I'm going to have to come up with a link, but Sony be trolling Nintendo on that shit, and it was funny for the lulz.
Everything be funny for the lulz. But yeah, man, it may not be futile, so it may still be worth sending it in. But at this point, Nintendo is aware of people desiring these games. So maybe if there's just like an overwhelming amount of letters that show up, good old-fashioned letter writing campaign.
Honestly, I don't really think. Yeah, honestly, because petitions never work.
That's true, but at the same time, if enough people show interest, online petitions do matter. That's why Firefly got that movie. Enough people complained and bought DVDs that they made a movie. That's why Family Guy got canceled and brought back twice.
And bought DVDs.
I'm tired of these motherfucking snakes on this motherfucking plane.
That's true that they were buying things, but people are asking to buy these games. They obviously can't buy them if they're not released yet.
Yes.
But there is some precedence for fan organized campaigns making things happen. But fuck it, man. Clicking print and putting a stamp on an envelope ain't that big of a deal, It's worth it. I'll do it. I'll send in a fucking letter. It ain't gonna hurt me. Of course, I'll fart in the envelope just to be trolling.
Instead of fart on egg rolls.
Some poor temp in the mailroom handled my butt vapors.
Oh, nice.
Oh wait, there's one piece of news I forgot earlier in the show. Some Red Dead Redemption DLC's coming out. No firm release plans. Comes from Rockstar's Twitter. I said that to you when we went off the air.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
Oh, okay.
I said, oh shit, I forgot to do this, and then I read it real quick, and we were already off the air.
My bad.
I haven't played that game yet.
It's really good. Do you have it? Or...
If I did, I would be playing.
Okay, well, I haven't played it yet.
I wouldn't be talking to you. I don't know.
When I say that, that may mean I've had it sitting around for a long-ass time. Like, with Yakuza 2, I hadn't played that for like 2 fucking years, and it's been sitting on a shelf, looking awesome.
And now you're finally playing it, and it is awesome.
It is. But that just stems from me wanting to get the new ones. I've got to work my way through this before I get to the next one. Got to play that shit in order, or I'll combust.
God damn it, Jerry. I gotta go. It's almost 1:30 in the morning. I thought you'd have wrapped this shit up by now.
Herp-de-derp. Show's over because of Crybaby. Hey, let me find some fucking bitch-ass music.
No. You don't have to end that shit. I'll just skate. You guys can finish this shit.
No, I mean, I was done anyway. I tend to ramble, buddy. I tend to ramble. Yeah, thanks for showing up. Fucking video games are awesome. Mondo Coolcast. Download that shit tomorrow. Fuck yeah. Thanks for being on the show, guys.
No problem.
Yeah, let's listen to some Metroid heavy metal remix.